The deadly maze, from where no one has returned yet, opens only to the searches of the level S. Its depth is swept by monsters, and the struggle for survival does not stop for a moment. A man with a self-confident look and a dark smile prepares to challenge this place, where even the most daring trembling with fear. Abyss gained horrible glory, absorbing hundreds of adventurers. In the dark, monsters are chatted, and newcomers, knowing the legend, step there with trepidation and respect. A huge monster fiercely attacks. The warrior restrains his sword, knowing that anyone who entered the abyss will never see the sky again. A few days before the events in the maze, a group of experienced seekers prepare for the expedition. While training is ongoing, the first disputes begin to flash between the participants. One of the veterans draws attention to the conflict between a newcomer and a teammate. The tension increases before the hike. In the shelter, the armored warrior roughly intercepts the newcomer, grabbing his hand. The rest stops, watching the situation with anxiety. The atmosphere thickens, a little more, and there can be a real confrontation between them. The leader of the detachment, the Godak, faces the hired sword gear. Annoyed, the game requires to stop the pressure. Their tension is barely restrained with words. Jir, though a newcomer, interferes with a Godak's behavior about a girl from a team. His words are full of call. The girl tries to smooth the situation, but Jir does not retreat. It is important for him to tell the truth. Jir states that his contract does not force the arbitrariness of the leader. The dispute goes into a rigid verbal conflict. Jir strongly raises the question of Godak. Will he continue to blame his comrades even in the maze where you need to unite in the face of the country's worst threat? Views face. Emotions boil. Tension hangs in the air. The conflict has not yet been completed. Godak warns Jira not to bend the stick. He is new to listen. But Jir smiles, taking the challenge. In the end, Godak orders everyone to go on the road. Disputes are postponed ahead. Abyss. The girl, a little shy, tries to have a conversation to discharge the tension. She seems like a collapse, a new participant in the support team. Thanks Jir for defense, but he just smiles. A friendly understanding arises between them. Lily praises his confidence. Jir explains. He studied all the attacks of the boss. The exact blow will be sufficient. But he adds, after that the sword will not stand and break. He explains that the dragon has only won the teacher's help and still travels to improve. The conversation goes easily and easily. During the journey, Jir confesses that he is tired. He recognizes a long way of studying ahead. The collapse praises his endurance, but he only shrugs his shoulders. They say it is for everyone. She uses a moment to ask a question that has long been concerned about her heart. With a serious look, the collapse asks Jira how to become stronger. Her eyes are full of determination. Jira's question is surprising. There is silence between them. It is waiting for the answer to hope. The collapse says that she was fond of stories about heroes and dreamed of traveling like them. To do this, she studied carefully and became an adventurer. Now she seeks to improve his combat skills. Jir is impressed with her devotion and purpose. They go the chosen way, confidently and decisively. There is only one direction for them. Forward. The collapse with pain confesses that no one wants to teach it. She looks for support, but only gets silence. Although she joined the team with the promise of training, she really wants to leave the role of support and become a real warrior in the front line. The collapse confesses that studying in the group is only observation and indifference. Therefore, they turn to outsiders, such as Jir, though it is awkward to help with the inexperienced. Jir thinks about her words and recognizes he disagrees with such training methods. To explain, Jir offers an imaginary situation. What would she do if she was attacked by a monster? She, without hesitation, replies, she would try to counter. Jir explains that it is safer to predict the attack and arrange a trap. This is a more strategic approach that would come to her. He adds that such a strategy may seem cruel, but it will keep her life. There are no rules in battle. Everyone has their strengths, and most importantly, to know when and how to use them. Jir emphasizes, the most important thing is to understand your own capabilities. His words are forced to think deeply. He compares the skills with the cards in the deck. Even the weakest will once be crucial. The more cards and the more pumped, the more flexibility in battle. The main thing is to make the best move every time in an accessible situation. Jir summarizes. Experience, knowledge, and training determine the value of the adventurer. The collapse smiles. She also wants not only to survive, but also to avoid injuries. It seems to her that his words are deep, so he calls him a theorist. Jir just smiles. They just like to discuss. Then he confesses. Although he says well, he is in fact an ordinary sword. Everything else is not strong, guided by logic that has grown from envy. He has a few cards, and one of them has a mind. As an example, Jir tells that he has a very bad vision. It is shocking. He reveals that after killed, the dragon was damned. His eyes were lost susceptibility to magical reinforcements. Because of this, it will be difficult for him to see traps in the maze. The collapse is surprised, because it is a serious drawback. But it turns out that this is not the worst. There is another problem that scares even more. The collapse is wary. Jir confesses that his weakest place is a terrible orientation. He has a catastrophic sense of direction. The collapse is shocked. He almost got the opposite end of the country. She realizes that even a brilliant sword has simple but serious difficulties. Jir confesses that it depends entirely on the glasses. If they break in the maze, everything is over. The collapse understands that even strong have weaknesses. Trusting the crack, he hands her spare glasses and asks them to keep them as a treasure. He emphasizes, without them we'll be in great danger. This gesture strengthens their trust before going to hell. The group finally reaches the entrance to the maze. The collapse notices this first and calls not to delay. Jir replies that he is ready. Their conversation ends, ahead of the test, to which no one is ready. Before entering, Jir says Cry. If she wants to study a trump card in battle, after the mission will teach her to own a sword. She agrees and immediately agrees. He modestly adds that he has no right to officially take students, but he will not teach secret technique. Everything he knows, he received from his teachers with others. But if she wants, she will gladly hand over her knowledge. The collapse is gratefully accepting this promise. Before entering the most dangerous maze, Jir and collapse give each other a quiet vow. A simple handshake is their inseparable contract. A student and a teacher related to trust in the middle of deadly darkness. Only 2 hours after entering the maze, and Jir had already found himself alone in dangerous aisles, and his glasses were broken under his feet. Disoriented and almost blind, it wanders in the dark, not understanding where he found himself. This is how his new, unexpected test begins. The beginning of the expedition was promising. Everything was planned. Thanks to the coordinated work of the support team, the group was confidently moving through enemies. But suddenly, everything turned over. The problems began when the detachment reached the 3rd floor of the maze. There they were waiting for a liking boss, a giant creature that immediately destroyed peace. From now on, everything has become truly dangerous. At each maze level there is a boss, enhanced by the magic of the place itself. These monsters do not wander. They chat in their own halls, waiting for the sacrifice. Usually they can be bypassed, but on the 3rd floor there is an exception. Even with the plan, the group faced full chaos. The first to go to battle was Jir. He attacked the boss without hesitation, and it was from that moment that a catastrophe began. A battle that changed the course of the whole hike forever. The tactics involved one attacking in the center to focus on all the enemy's rage. Jir did not deny. It was just physical training for him. He used to stand the blows, but looking back, he noticed a complete lack of support. It was the alarm. Next to him was a Godak, a leader who held a demonic sword vanish, full of mana, a symbol of his strength and name. Until this moment, Godak's actions seemed good and appropriate for the situation. Faced with the power of the boss, Godak decided to attack in person. Jir agreed to hold the enemy to give him a chance to activate the sword. But at a moment when Godak released a demonic sword, Jir found himself right in the area of the lesion. Without realizing the threat, he did not even have time to respond when the blow covered everything around. Without a warning, the Nanuary released the equipment. The dark flashing energy instantly filled the space, sweeping everything in the way. Jir felt something horrible was approaching. Before him was a black paw of energy, ready to destroy. He understood. It will not be possible to escape. Following this, everything exploded. Darkness, fragments, smoke, and pain. The blow covered both the boss and the allies, everything around the chaos. The explosion was so powerful that it pierced a giant hole in the maze floor. The ground under Jira's feet scattered, and he flew down to the dark depths. Looking to the side, he saw the boss falls with him. During the fall, the monster tried to kill him. Jir immediately forgot about the nobility and began a desperate fight to survive. Returning to the present, he lies on the body of a fallen boss. Survived. But he still doesn't understand how. The girl understands that the Holy Knight's Arlenet would not come for no reason. Something important is on this visit. Jira's gaze rises to a huge wall. It is impossible to go back. The hope of exit fades. In despair, he remembers Godak, squeezes his fists, and growls from anger. He realizes that he is now trapped in the abyss. Shaking from rage, Jir swears never forgive Godak for this blow. How could you use deadly equipment without warning? He recalls how he almost died from the attack in his back. And it comes to the conclusion. Everything happened because of the quarrel before the mission began. Hate! Absorbed! Jir screams, not calming down until he wins Godak. His only goal is revenge, as soon as he gets alive. He begins to think about how he would be able to get out of this deadly captivity. Despite the situation, he recalls that some team members can still be conscious. First of all, Collapse. He imagines that she will first try to help him. Although it seems impossible to return up, Jir is hoping that friends will not leave it. I try to calm down. He plans to ask for help from girls from the group. He imagines how he is lounged with a rope to pull out. In parallel, he is heated by the thought of revenge to Godakov. But above all, we must call for help. He begins to shout that he is alive. And that is when it happens a little strange. The edge of the failure cracks. Jir fades. The look rises to the ceiling of the cave. It moves, makes lavish sounds like a lively monster. Despite fear, he tries to keep calm. He still has glasses, the only chance to remain functional. But as soon as he mentally emphasizes their importance, a new crack is heard. A crack appears on the lenses, and panic grows in the heart. With despair and forced smile, he holds the fragments of glasses and shouts that still normal, trying to convince at least someone, or himself. He understands deeply in his soul, a real catastrophe is just beginning. In despair, he says, "I was gone." Ironic, this is what the real adventure begins. Meanwhile, the Godak looks coldly into the hole where the Jir fell. The Collapse on his knees is stunned by what happened. The leader without reproach comments, "Failed coincidence." In memory, the Collapse is a shake of your hands with a jeer, which now seems like a bitter laugh. She looks amazed at the Godak. When he orders to retreat, they say, "The boss of the third floor survived after his blow." But the Collapse does not stand, directly asks whether he really throws Jira. And in this silence she realizes the blow was deliberate. The goal was not the boss, but Jir himself. Fighting frames confirm that the sword was activated unnecessarily. Without hesitation, Ayandak with force strikes the Collapse against the wall, brutally pressing it with the body. She does not even have time to react, suffocates, barely stands, and the attacker calmly watches her suffering. Wounded, she lowers her eyes, hearing cold words. "Well, if it was I?" He despises her, calling a worthless and arrogant support. But the Collapse does not seem. She promised that the viability of this guild. The Nadak only laughs at the threats. Trying to keep himself in his hands, the Collapse begins to quote laws. An attack from back is punishable by crime and deprivation of a license. She insists there were witnesses, but the Nadak asks with a mockery, "Where are they?" And the Collapse of horror understands. She remained alone. The rest of the adventurers are either intimidated or indifferent. Everyone succeeds nothing. One of them reluctantly confirms, "Nobody saw anything." Everyone turns away, and the Collapse understands. It has no support. Godak mocks her, they say. She imagined everything, and the pathetic support has no right to blame without evidence. Despite nothing, he orders to prepare for departure. Others obey without saying a word. The Collapse silently watches as everyone leaves it. She stands, shock. Everything in the head is treated. Betrayal, the fall of Jira, its powerlessness. Her face is full of pain and despair. But she does not move out of place. Even broken and humiliated, she remembers how she tried to extend her hand to save Jira. This memory only deepens her guilt. Having lost in her own guilt, she does not hear the environment. Suddenly, one of the adventurers approaches and tries to bring her back. Colin directly says beauty. If she stays here, he will die. His voice is solid and determined. She does not understand why everyone got to the side of Godak. Colin answers, "Don't be surprised. For this group, it is absolute power." The Collapse feels isolated, knowing that no one will stand on her side. Colin explains, "No one wants to get a Godak because he heads a single SC rank team in the country. Against him means to lose access to the maze and income. But the Collapse does not accept it. She wants to act, even alone. But her knees restrained her. Now she will not be able to do anything." He adds that in her current state she is simply not able to save Jira alone. It's not about indifference, but about power. And until it is not enough, there will be no action. Only the desire is not enough. Colin emphasizes, situations where you can't stop injustice is the usual part of the adventurer life. It all depends on how you accept it. He adds, What she saw is just a coincidence. And now she could change anything. The collapse compresses a fist. Anger and despair is burning in the chest. She did not become an adventure seeker to feel powerlessness. Seeing her condition, her knees laid her hand on her head and apologizes. Returning to the shelter, the collapse did not give up. In tears, broken and tired, she cries from despair. But the words of the knee that this situation is a lesson do not get out of the head. She decides to continue. She no longer wants to deal with those who cover betrayal. But it is a more important goal. If it goes off the path, it will never be able to go back to Abyssa on its own. That is why, despite the pain and betrayal, she did not stop. It's been 3 months. She is worn after daily workouts, and thanks to myself, because she did not give up. One day when it is ready, we'll return to that maze, and it will reach the deepest level. Even if only a part of Jira can be turned, she will pull it out. With determination, she stands again before entering the abyss. Regular jogging to the maze became part of the routine for her. And one day, she notices large crews. Perhaps one of the aristocrats? But soon he understands. It is a group of holy knights. Her surprise only grows. A special detachment of the church appears only when it is necessary to seal the fallen king. Something clearly happens, and the collapse wants to know what exactly. And here she notices a woman. She recognizes her. It's holidays. The collapse sounds to her, but asks not to turn to her so familiar. The woman smiles and says, the title Holidays does not fit her. The youth is stunned. He is a legend, the youngest archimage in history. Eunice's words make them listen to more closely. Bride words. You are worthless, and it's already dead. But in her breasts, a new determination is born. Now it is important. She remembers Jir's words about the importance of understanding her own power. And it gives her the strength to move on. Aware of her boundaries and a long way, she does not stop. It is ready to change and grow, even if it is painful. She walks forward, right in front of the knights and holy. He states loudly, he no longer wants to stay as she was. It will change at any cost. With tears in the eyes, but full of fierce, it requires the wolves to return her friend. Surrounded, without preference, she does not seem. Even when one attacks it, it fights to the end. Jir, completely changing, awakens brutal power. His look is crazy. He rises above the body of the wolf and ruthlessly pulls it. The cave is filled with the roar of shocks and a wild atmosphere. It is driven by a frantic rage. Jir begins to laugh uncontrollably. His madness is heard among the stone walls, and the wolves run away from fear. He looks at wolves with a self-confident smile and a firm look full of call. He knocks on his chest and exclaims that he has become a real savage, fearlessly challenging anyone who will interfere. Wolves feel his determination and retreat. 3 months have passed since the tragedy. Jir has strengthened, and his posture radiates confidence. But to survive in this hostile reality, he has to eat raw meat of monsters. He chews with disgust, but understands. Otherwise not survive. Jir on the verge is physically and mentally. He hides in a homemade shelter and lasts from the last forces. During lunch, he tastes disgusting fish. He remembers 100 days of survival without tools. And suddenly he finds a crystal in a fish body. It is covered by joy. He laughs and imagines how much he can help him. There is hope again in the heart. But Jir begins to laugh unrestrained, showing the crystal of a tub, like a man. Tired, on the verge of madness, he acknowledges, even civilized have limits. And if it goes on, he will definitely go crazy. Or maybe already went down. But he still tries to cheer himself up. You just need to go up, and once you get the surface. Smiles through despair. He says goodbye to a tub, as if with a longtime friend. It pulls the cloak collected and exhausted and leaves shelter. With the last glance back, and with a new determination, moves forward. On the road, Jir is thinking. He has mentioned that he once read about 2 types of people with poor orientation. The first goes forward without thinking, even if they chose the wrong way. Others are like him, unsure. Even if they go right, they begin to doubt, return, and lose. Jir realizes that he is the second type. Constant doubts are its weakness. He recalls how he constantly asked the teacher in training, and mocked him. Another proof that he is the one who doubts. But this time he decides not to give up. After all, if you can doubt it, gets lost even deeper. He encourages himself, and steps confidently. Jir continues to go, repeating to himself, I didn't get lost, even if he does not fully believe in it. But soon he notices something strange. He was convinced that he was going down, but it seems to go down. Embarrassed, tries to explain it logically. To see, he decides to go a little more. And that is when it comes to something on the floor. A new trouble is coming. Not noticing, he activates the hidden mechanism. The click is heard. The trap works. The ironic voice of the narrator is catching. Despite self-reflection, Jir acts as a complete fool. It is covered by panic. The trap is activated directly under your feet. It falls into a dark pit filled with water. Grabbing, beating in the water. Bubbles are erupted from the mouth. The jet carries it down, but it grabs with effort. It is selected from water, screams, and grabs air. It is still wet. It coughs and looks. Before him, a figure carefully pulls the sword. It's a monster. The trap was only a bait. Gur gets in a battle rack. Skidling, Jir finds himself in a new, unknown place. Ahead is a mysterious figure of a woman with a balanced but powerful posture. Stunned, he looks silently at her. She looks quietly in response. There is tension and curiosity between them. His vision is still clouded. He tries to understand who he sees. When the eyes are clear, he understands. A woman is in front of him. She smiles warmth and says that a person. Jir shock. The situation seems increasingly mysterious. Without glasses and with blurred vision, Jir tries to understand whether a real person is in front of him. A woman with a smile asks how many fingers she shows. He corresponds to the full nonsense. Concealed, Jir begins to doubt reality. Can people really wait at the end of such traps? His suspicions are growing. They appear in front of a giant monster. Jir immediately understands his strength, becomes alert, while the woman remains calm and confidently looks the enemy in the eyes. With relief, Jir realizes, at least the monster is real. This is not an illusion. During the fight, the woman again assures, she is a man. Jir retains vigilance, not fully realizing what to expect next. Concealed and exhausted, Jir specifies once again if she is real. But at the same moment, a giant monster emerges in front of them. The woman is preparing for battle, and Jir still digested the situation. The beginning of the battle. A woman without fear acts forward, using the mysterious technique of the sword. It shocks Jira. She calmly watches as Jir, gathering, jumps into an attack. The blow of the lunar dream technique, he cuts the monster in half. The monster is dead. The woman is amazed and asks if everything is well with him. The moved Jir grabs her hands, with relief and joy to exclaim that she is a man. She just smiles softly and says simple, yes. He lowers his hand to the floor and notices the recess in the flooded stone. The girl comes up, interested. Jir comments is probably a magical circle. She confesses that she does not understand this, because only a sword. Still, he carefully inspects the place and touches the sign on the ground. Feeling strange, he confirms, yes, it looks like a magical circle. The camera is moving. They are in the center of the flooded cave. Jir thinks how he got here. The girl explains, she was teleported here from the church. Jir asks in surprise, she tried to go through the maze on her own? She nods uncertainly. He suggests with a bizarre smile. She was betrayed by the allies during the battle with the boss. She immediately denies such suspicion. With a gesture, the hand activates the spell, and something hidden appears on the ground. He says that the Knights of the Holy Church brought it to the 4th level and acted harmoniously. And moving on, she began to feel strange. At the time of inattention, she stepped on a trap and found herself in an unexplored place. Jir asks if she is an adventurer, if she travels with knights. She hesitates without knowing whether it is worth telling. After the pause, agrees. She explains, she came with the group to explore the maze itself. Jir specifies as a real mission. She nods. Yes, that's right. He says that church leaders have long felt strange energy in these places. But then she did not notice anything. She was chained to bed because of overeating. Jir jokes, calling her a bucket. She laughs. Having gotten a little, he asks one service. Since it is from the church, it may have cleansing magic. Jir complains, all the dirty, like a wet dog, and asks a little help. The girl smiles. She jokingly says he really stinks with a swamp. He is indignant that it is an exaggeration, but she insists, no, it's true. He begins to read the purification spell, explaining that after a long stay in the maze this would happen. Magic is activated, and Jir immediately notices the result. Stunned, he feels the cleaning ends. And he thinks, if he met her 3 days later, he would not stand and attacked as a beast. It appeared on time. Watching everything, he sincerely thanks her. Looking carefully in the picture, Lily is surprised. The pattern is engraved with extreme accuracy. Surprised, Jir asks how she noticed the curse in his eyes. The girl apologizes, fearing that she behaves too obsessive. He confesses that he does not hide this, and already has the idea how to remove the curse. Girl with relief thanks. Jir praises her abilities, cleansing and recognizing. She is shyly confessed. It is really her strength. Then he sincerely praises her fighting skills. She remembers how she destroyed the crab with one blow. Even the holy knights could not. She replies that it is the only technique that she fully trusts. While they are talking, marine monsters appear around the water. The girl quietly watches them. Without hesitation, she accepts a fighting rack. The look is concentrated, the movements are confident. But before she has time to attack, Jir lightly destroys the enemies with one accurate blow. When he cheered, he proposes to leave a dangerous place. He says that there is a safe zone that he used. The girl agrees to go with him. He assures that he will take less than 5 minutes, despite the fact that he is recently demolished with water. Grabbed, she replies that he cannot wait to see this place. On the way, he praises shelter and says that there is even drinking water. But it takes a long time. After 5 hours, they finally arrive. The girl is exhausted, barely holding on her feet and apologies. Her legs are no longer standing. Jir is also exhausted and offers her to sit down. She thanks and sinks nearby. After resting, Jir says he wants to finally introduce himself as it should. He calls himself a Jir. She is Lily Leah from the church, but asks her to call her just Lily Leah, or even the older sister of Leah. Joke about the amount of L in her name. Jir repeats her variant in confusion, and she laughs. They say he still does not guess her age. Lily confesses. Despite the young appearance, she has more than 20. Jir is surprised and begins to think about how to communicate now, whether you should become polite. But Lily prefers to talk simply, around her, and so everyone is always too formal. Jir sighs lightly. The conversation becomes casual. He thanks her. Lily decides to be more frank, but as soon as she begins to explain her situation, Jir interrupts. She already knows. She is amazed. Where? Jir tells, before the maze, a sweet girl with gray hair came to him, a collapse, and asked to take care of her. Lily is shocked by hearing this name. She confesses that she considered herself abandoned, but to find out that the collapse is still worried, moves it. Jir notes that he would have lost hope after 3 months without any news. She says that the collapse even asked to bring at least a bone if nothing left. Lily is embarrassed, asks whether it was definitely said aloud. However, he adds, deeply in the soul understands. After such a term, everyone could think that she would not return. But she is enough to know what she remembers. Jir is wondering why she was so deep in the maze at all. Junis thoughtfully says that a person like Rusty could create the perfect circle. And at the same time, Lily begins to explain. She was thrown at lower levels at the beginning. Jir asks in surprise, trying to figure out what she means. She says that during a battle with the boss, she was simultaneously attacked by a monster and someone from her group. She still does not know. It was intentional or intentionally. After that, she fell on the lower floors and wanders since then, looking for a way out. But it was not possible to return to the initial level. The magic circle on the door is a control point at the same time, which opens the path of Rusty or other owners of sacred magic unrelated. After completing the story, she thanks Jir for salvation from the curse of the caveman. He says that in the moment she lost herself, he appeared in front of her. Jir jokes that she is not enough for a cave person. Lily embarrasses and translates the topic, says that constant transitions have depleted food stocks, and she quickly ate everything. Outraged, Lily calls that guy cruel and promises to complain about him after leaving the maze, and also offers help as an older sister. Jir thanks shyly, considers her behavior a little childish. They focus again. Jir says that despite his beginning from a lower level, he advanced well in 3 months and believes he will be able to get out. Lily enthusiastically agrees, they say. It is only necessary to go up. But stops. There is something that makes you doubt. She warns. To rise, they will have to overcome the bosses of floors. Jir replies that he knew it. The screen has a narrow corridor and a large sealed gate. In front of the door, the image of a formidable boss appears the next level. Jir, looking at the creature, thinks, I will not be able to defeat it. The danger is much more serious than he expected. Eunice adds with a smile that he may be arrested for penetration into the forbidden zone. Lilia is just sighing. The more she learns about Jira, the more he sympathizes with him. Jir confesses to himself, the monster is not stronger, it is simply invulnerable. It specifies the opinion. It is not strong, but incredibly durable. His sword is not able to break through the enemy's skin. Even if it causes a powerful blow, the sword will break. Without a weak place, there is no chance of winning. Jir says that if he had glasses, he could win him. Lily is surprised, asks, "Really?" He says, "Probably yes," but recognizes that it is still inexperienced. That is why he stayed here using the source of water for survival. He says, if he was more skillful, he would just overcome the boss by force. Lily jokes that he sees nothing without glasses. Hearing about the source, he asks in surprise, "Are you about a well?" She inspects the water carefully, suspiciously swirled, and asks if it is really a well. He recalls, Jir spent 4 months in the most dangerous maze, and that made it stronger. The atmosphere becomes strange. He asks to stop, because the situation is already frankly wonderful. Lily laughs. He promises to clean the stomach later. Jir only sighs. With the determination of Lily states, "We need to go directly into the boss's room." Jir tries to argue, even hurts the stomach, but Lily confidently promises to help and easily win. Smoking, smiling, she says she is also quite cool. Jir loses arguments, does not know what to answer. Lily jokes, he will be strengthened on him, and he will become a real cave warrior. Jir replies it is useless. The problem is not in it, but in the sword. He explains, keeps the forces, but current weapons are too weak. The blade is blunt, it will not stand the impact on full force. Lily looks, and really notices in what condition the sword is. She exaggerates. She thought he is stronger than the holy knights. Jir panic, denies what he said, and is indignant as she twists his words. He explains that he bought this spare sword at random, in case the main breaks. Any sword crashes with gross force. The main thing is to find a weak place. But without glasses, it is impossible. Lily nods suspiciously and asks, how often does it happen to him? Moreover, he warned Arlene about possible delay. It will not worry for at least half a year. Lily thanks sincerely, and the group is finally fully set to cross this door. With a serious face, he states, 1 complete blow, and the boss will die. Lily praises his confidence. Jir explains, he studied all the attacks of the boss. The exact blow will be sufficient. But he adds, after that, the sword will not stand and break. Jir understands that it will be even harder without a sword. Lily sees it, fits, and, smiling, touches the sword and puts heavily on it. The blade begins to glow. She says, as a gift, another chance to the second stroke. Surprised, Jir is only briefly called, eh? He looks confusedly as Lily smiles confidently. Thanks to her magic, his sword is now magical, extremely strong and unbreakable. Lily asks if he is amazed by the sacred magic. Jir, shocked, repeats aloud, sacred magic? Does not believe that this is reality. He tries to remember where he heard this term, whether in the writings of the church or maybe in textbooks for children. It only confuses his thoughts. He thanks Lily and says that the sword did not become a real saint artifact, but still looks like a fake sacred blade. Lily jokes, what are you, knight 300 years ago? Then he seriously reminds that he promised to defeat the boss with 1 blow. Jir nod, confirms. Lily asks how many before the boss hall. Gur says, 10 minutes. She laughs. With your pace, 30, after 3 hours they finally get. Lily comments, usually when you often go one road, you begin to remember the landmarks. Jir became aware of, he remembered nothing. Lily sighs, but he quickly takes his hands and offers to move on. Jir agrees. It's time to act. He gently opens the door to the boss hall. The loops are creaking, and the space in front of them opens. They go into a dark corridor. The black aura wraps them. Lily is calm and confident. Jir is concentrated. They enter together, are ready to accept the call. In the center of the hall, a boss appears, a powerful creature with horns and eye in the skull. Jir and Lily are preparing for battle. Lilia and Eunice try to reassure him, but Jir firmly states he does not want to be responsible for failure. Jir silently analyzes the situation, waiting for the moment when you need to strike a decisive blow. Lily recognizes a creature, a apocryptic horror. He roars again, getting ready to attack. With a decisive look, Jir says, it's time to destroy him. And in the moment when the monster lifts his paws, he takes a fighting position. Jir rushes to the apocryphal monster preparing to strike. By using the 8th sword technique, it fills the blade with energy and causes it to a weak place. The battle reaches the apogee. A powerful stroke, a formidable section of lightning, cuts the monster to the ground. Lily looks amazed. After the victory, Jir modestly points out, he still has something to learn. After the explosion, He watches the fragments hanging in the air, sighing with relief. Lily asks if everything is fine with him. Gur looks out. The fragments are slowly falling. Lily, relaxed, confesses that the strengthening may have been a little weaker than expected. But she smiles. The result is still successful. Jir looks at the sword in surprise. He has not broken. But Eunice is already delighted. This mad idea seems to him a fun adventure. Lily smiles with relief, rejoices because she would be afraid that he would let down after loud promises. They separate this moment with a slight mood. Jir looks at Lily and understands. She is definitely not a simple girl. Increasing this level is not under the power of the ordinary novice of the church. Even for the priest it is too much. And he never met either the archbishop or cardinal. And Lily's strength seems to be superior to even their suspicions. Meanwhile, Lily behaves carefree and fun, not suspecting Jira's thoughts. Jira begins to think, maybe Lily is not so young. She said she was over 20, but what is it, just a minimum? Her voice and behavior are too young for this level of skill. He catches himself on absurd thoughts about Lily Leah. They discuss the next stage. Too cautious and calm. But in the end, all the happy ones that returned whole. Earlier, he would reject such thoughts instantly. But after 3 months in the maze, the struggle for survival and emotional exhaustion, he acknowledges. He has changed a little. Lily looks at him with anxiety and asks if he sometimes does not cry. Jir stops himself, understands that he thought nonsense and switches. He says he still does not know what monster they fought with. He saw only a blurred figure. The group moves forward, and Eunice, standing in the rain, thinks about whether it is really needed in this team. After the battle, Lily falls into confusion and begins to fantasize as if the monster was sweet. Jir asks about it, whether everything is fine with her, but Lily is still in the clouds, not able to answer coherently, as if her mind is wandering. She tries to explain. She saw something like a horse in the monster just because he had 4 legs. Jir listens indifferent, although he feels that there was something more in the monstra. Lily sighs and finishes the topic with the words, "Yes, it is indifferent." Lily's mood improves when she notices the door. But before moving on, Jir asks to say something important. He hesitates. It's like a confession. Smiling, he opens, and he confesses that he has a terrible orientation. Lily Leah is looking confusedly. She did not expect such a confession. A few days have passed without a single battle, and it begins to annoy Jira, who was unable to use the sword. He asks her to inform her if they do not accidentally go there. The girl asks in surprise, "What do you mean?" She takes Jira by the hand and says they will now choose the way together. He assures that he can rely on her, and with enthusiasm adds, "Loves cards." It is surprised by Jira. Lily Leah admits she is a real fan of cards. He says he likes to sit at home and almost does not work out. He does not like to travel, but reads guides and diaries for pleasure. Jir listens impressed, and she hastily adds, "It's not surprising." Lily confidently says, "You are safe with me, don't worry." Jir, though smiling, is still worried. But in the end, he accepts the situation. She cheerfully assures, "No reason for anxiety." At this point, he has a memory. Once upon a time, the mentor lured him on a gorgeous ship, and there he had to fight with a crowd of giant squid. At this point, Lily joyfully asks where now. Jir decides, "Let's go left," based on instinct. Lily agrees enthusiastically. She thought too. Together, synchronous, they go forward. Jir feels in the soul is calmer. Jir notes that apparently they have been taken to the library only since childhood. Junis confirms that adults are not accepted there. With double power and energy, Jir and Lily Leah become an invincible couple. Together, they overcame 50 levels of dangerous maze in a month. Jir and Lily Leah are harmonious, confident, move on without stopping after 50 floors. But their journey has not been complete. They continue the study. Narrow corridors, dark aisles. Lily looks forward. In her heart, a premonition. There are many tests ahead. Lilia is catching. They say, sounds like a self-righteous speech, which Eunice recognizes with a smile. Yes, he knows. Exhausted, Jir tries to keep the pace, pulling the sleigh. Lily Leah, as an excitement, asks whether she is not too heavy. The trip is ongoing. Both are determined to move on. Jir, breathing hard, replies that everything is fine. Says it's just another type of workout. Lily Leah for a moment stops. And then he specified with suspicion, "Do you want to say that I am hard?" Jir, not knowing what to answer, lowers his head and is silent. The mountains say the boss of the 3rd floor was too strong. Lily, laughing fun, replies that she already imagined. The camera shows the road forward. A new cave opens. While they rise above, Lilia comments on how deep they are. At the same time, he remembers the Holy Knights. Worried. Will they be evil because of its disappearance? In the first phase, the boss was at a nightmare level, but then transformed into a true horror. Meanwhile, Jiris silently, strenuously pulls the sleigh with her, all in sweat and on the verge of strength. While lifting, he breathes hard and says that he thinks for a long time. It is time to voice it. Lily asks, "What exactly?" He hesitates, calling it perhaps fiction, and decides to say. As he sighs deeply, Jir preparing to share anxious thoughts. In the end, exhausted and wet, he admits they are lost. Lilia is looking at him silently. They both understand. The situation is not the way they hoped. Doubts hang in the air. Jir thinks that they may not go there. Remember the fall from the 3rd floor and the time spent lifting. Are they still so far from the surface? Lily tries to reassure him, but he insists. They should admit that they could get lost, and maybe just move very quickly, in a false direction. With a serious look, Lily stops him and says he wants to say something important. Gur is alert. Her tone is changing, as if she will now open something decisive. She reports that there are 2 types of people with a terrible orientation. Jir is surprised and wary of listening. Smiling, she points forward. She has a few more reasons about this interesting theory. Lily explains that the first type is those who are stubbornly moving the wrong way. But it's not about them. After all, they always chose the route intuitively, and never argued about the direction. Jir thinks and agrees. In fact, their elections have always coincided. He says that it is almost impossible, that 2 with bad orientation always go there. But he begins to doubt, remembering how they have repeatedly broken all the likelihood. A man approaches it, and with sympathy extends a vessel with water. The girl thanks and accepts help. She says, the second type is those who start correctly, but because of the alarm does not turn there. Jir panic. He seems to be just like that. Lily joyfully confirms it. She adds, most often everything is solved by itself if you simply do not stop. Jir, still uncertain, asks, what if he doesn't work? Lily extends his hand and answers, even then you should go on, and not give up. Lilia with a confident smile says, if this path is false, just turn back. Jir looks at her thoughtfully, absorbing her words with surprise and respect. Suddenly, a giant monster appears in front of them and instantly destroys their sleigh. Jir watches the creature closely, and Lily sighs. He finally appeared, though they destroyed their transport. Jir boldly rushes to the attack, and Lily watches, noting his strength and determination. After the victory over the beast, Jir confidently says that it is pointless to come back after more than 120 floors. Lily asks if he nods. She thankfully thanks her for her experience and addresses her instructor. Dutch, trembling, says, each of them protects something, but asks to collapse, not to become like them. The pair gets the development, laughing in the air. They both analyze the new situation. We are ready to make a choice and decide where to go on. Confidently and synchronously decide to the right, answering at the same time. Smiling, they go further in the harmony of decisions, continuing the journey through the maze. Despite the fact that the road leads even deeper, they are strongly moving forward. Doubts leave behind. After a stop, they prepare fish and eat with appetite, restoring strength. A moment of rest allows to relieve fatigue a little before you move on again. Lily, with grimace, tries fish, considers it disgusting. Jir, on the contrary, is delighted with clean water. Satisfied, Jir decides to complete the break. Despite the absence of fire, due to the magic of cleaning Lily, housing has become cleaner. She grunts for the taste of fish. Jir is enjoying everyone. After the meal, Jir thanks her for her care. Lily asks her hands. She uses magic to clear his hands after eating. Jir thanks again, recognizing how much she does, especially in battle with the boss. While she is asleep, he is getting ready for training. Jir thinks that it is too weak to win the boss on his own. Lily hears his tone and thinks he still cannot accept help. One of them recalls that she has already heard something like, in the maze of the rank A, called the deep depths, located on the intermediate floor with the characteristics of the marine depths. But Lily is offended. He seems to consider her help by a burden. She remembers how diligently studied magic to be useful. Jir is silent, feeling tension. He tries to explain. He did not want to seem thankless, just used to decide everything himself. Lily, with a joke, offers him a marsh water to discharge the atmosphere. The memoirs show how they found the sword, not suspecting what threat he brings. Similar trophies were often defeated or those who fled. The conclusion was one. The sword could only belong to the dead. because none would leave such a relic just so. She asks if someone called him a cute. Jia replies that no. On the contrary, the master said the opposite. What a girl cheered. Lily jokes that despite his age, he sometimes tries to speak officially. And it sounds funny. She will tease him while Jia tries to change the topic. Exhausted, he advises her to rest. Lily gladly agrees and lies down, and Jia is finally relaxing. Left alone, Jia grunts about what she is painful and sighs, sits down, trying to calm down. But even departing, he could not forget that strange transformation of the Godak. He calmly watches the surrounding silence, trying to hold back emotions, and gradually realizes feelings for her grow. It begins to distract from workouts and worry. He mentions the advice he received 5 years ago from an exhausted man. Do not contact women, because he has already survived 5 divorces. Then Jia replied that a person with such experience accurately has problems with his head. Now he sighs as if he began to understand. After that careless replica, he was severely punished by training. Holland notices movement, comments on it, reinforcement works. Despite all the attempts to follow the advice, he could not avoid meeting a good girl in a dirty maze. A month of joint journey has passed, and the master's advice is increasingly weighing in his heart. During this month, the feelings for her only grew, even despite caution. And it was when he reduced the defense, something unexpected happened. Holland is stunned, begins to realize that everything is much more serious than it seemed. After the injury, the mentor went to hot springs, and the Jir stayed himself. Since then, he has been traveling alone. Although he was not officially a student, most were perceived, and it influenced his path. In his travels, he was repeatedly challenged with pathetic words, trying to prove something, and only one girl became him a true friend. The story is full of effort and goodbye. Moreover, the Magical Federation has confirmed similar prophecies. His feelings are confusing. He remembers simple moments, her smile, touching her hands after eating. His heart shrinks. The guy tries to restrain anxiety, calm down and focus, though more and more. Under the protection of the barrier Lily Leah, Jir tries to concentrate on training. But the feelings do not fade. He considers it unfair to confess in love in such conditions, and decides to hide it. He understands that if you press on a girl in the barrier isolation, among the monsters, she will neither be refused nor escape. This thought confuses him. He firmly decides that this is wrong, very wrong. So he decides to preserve dignity. Recognizes in feelings only after leaving the maze. In the meantime, he will write letters during the year, opening his heart gradually. To get distracted, the young man delves into meditation, focusing the chakra in the body for self-improvement. A bright explosion of energy that pierces the sky and beats the center flashes over the city. He recalls what he has already suspected. After all, sacred magic usually reaches the top only in old age. Thinking, he realizes he saw only a silhouette. He does not even remember her face. So why did he imagine a smile? The sky fills the winged creature. A giant, formidable, with a hanging aura of the threat. One of the present instantly recognizes the danger. He is passionate about meditation and is convinced of her old age. He suddenly exclaims about his discovery. Lily Leah is confused. The mysterious figure destroys a giant statue with one accurate, devastating blow. The observing woman recognizes the advantage of this force. After an uncomfortable moment, Lily calmly explains the simple truth. Sometimes people touch each other, and that is enough. Her words penetrate the heart, causing incomprehensible heat that makes you think. It imposes a protective spell that will last for 10 hours and asks not to stand up to the late. But the young man, as long as she asks, how did she put the magic without touch? Previously, she always touched. Lily is calm. She has improved the technique, so you no longer need to touch. Wishing good night, she goes. If at least one of them escaped from the maze, it would be enough to wipe the whole village from the face. Anxiety and confusion grow, knocking out of balance. And he cannot stand, exclaims. Pretend that there may be all 200 and the other corrects. Despite the confusion, their journey continues, and there is still a lot of unspoken. Lily dreams of a dream. A rainy battle full of emotions flashes in the memoirs. She wakes upstream. It turns out it was only a dream. It has been 4 months since the moment. And although everything has changed, she has not yet received any news from the Holy Night. Her daily routine has not changed. The city lives, as if nothing happened. He sighs, they say. This is probably the true essence of adventures in mazes. The girl adds, the life of the adventurer is really difficult. When she thinks how much energy young have, she barely can catch up. During her workout, she meets Holland. He is welcome at ease, says he does nothing serious. He just walks with children who complain. Holland's children fell behind, leaving their father himself. The young girl embarrassing her shoulders, noticing it. For the first time it is born in it. Maybe all this has some sense. She breathes hard after a workout, and Holland yawns lazily, enjoying a slight morning pace. She jokes that Jir often chats with himself, and he is genuinely surprised. Is it really so often? Both give examples, and the Jir, asleep, admits, yes, it happens. Today, however, she plans to run up without any physical strengthening. One of the guys says he always dreamed of friends of his age. The girl is delighted to correspond after leaving the maze. He willingly agree. She turns to Jira, but he hesitates. Dutch warns, do not overload your body. Even if there is healing in the church, some injuries remain forever. Words make her think. At that moment, a church tuple passes. They both notice it. Being in a proud pose, she says that her handwriting is so sweet that Jir will just cry from emotions. He blushes and closes his face with her hands, and she laughs with a winning smile. After this phrase, he fell silent for a short time, releasing the smoke from a cigarette and verse murmur, well, maybe? Leaving the thought of unfinished. He said with an alienated look, they finally learned. The tension hangs in the air. They exchange serious views. They both understand well what they are talking about without even requiring explanations. The girl looks closely at the carriage of the Order of the Church. There were no such in the city. Dutch says they appeared last month. She recalls that there was no one before. The church did not show presence. The Dutch with a mysterious smile adds, there are also night hours in the church. According to him, the church rarely acts directly, except to contain catastrophes, like the resurrection of the fallen king. But he tries to drive these thoughts. The tension disappears when the children of Holland finally resort to. He smiles. Slow, as usual. One of the guys complains that the dad runs too quickly. Holland only laughs, enjoying the moment. The girl looks at them with a soft smile, though forgetting about anxiety for a moment. With enthusiasm, Jir opens the gate, uttering a humorous phrase. They are sure victory is close. But as soon as the door is moving, it happens terrible. Even this peaceful scene under a tree with Holland and his children squeeze her heart. Inside, the fear is that all this will disappear sooner or later. The fear of losing simple moments of happiness is only intensifying. Her look becomes removed, anxious. The character is carefully approaching the door filled with bright light, but with confidence he states, you will become a much better adventurer than I used to. Moved in words, the girl squeezes his fists. She burns again. And he confidently says to himself, I will do my best. The same evening, when it was already dark, it is suddenly visited by the guest. A ray that hit the magic barrier breaks out of the beak. A powerful explosion is rejected both back. They retain protection. Arlene apologizes for a late visit, immediately hinting that the case is urgent. The girl, surprised, is adjusting to a serious conversation. They are found in a cozy room, each with a cup of hot drink, but soon he falls to the ground. The body is exhausted and wounded. The look is directed into the sky, where the stars are flicker. The atmosphere is calm, but filled with expectations. They are silently tearing tea, preparing for heavy words. Eyes flashing determination, he whispers with cold confidence, the enemy must fall. Arlenette goes to the essence and asks whether the girl will tell what has happened. The mention of the previous group makes her nervously shudder. Arlene reveals that the former group of the girl refused to study the abyss. But surprised, she was not reported. But she knew it deeply in her soul. Arlene adds, everything was confirmed personally through Godak. Arlenette says Godak confessed that the expedition was left. She is outraged. What happened there? What made an elite group surrender after one descent? The strong team has not lost any member. But it only emphasizes that something worse than death happened inside. The girl lowers her head and squeezes his fist. Emotions suffocate her. The look fades. She says, none of them died. A simple phrase that carries silent horror. And it approaches light, powerful, bright, as if on the verge of an explosion. She is aware that there was no killed in the registry. And perhaps Jir was not officially inscribed in the group. Arlene does not know this. She is surprised why such a strong group was scared after once. She guesses that they were faced with something unknown. But even so, Godak's sudden decision seems too suspicious. The girl is thinking about the true cause of failure. He imagined this moment again and again. With a decisive look, with his outstretched hand, was ready. It has passed so many times that it is now instinctive. How many times he tried to grab this soul, repeated to perfection. She tries to hide anxiety, commenting on something of the unknown nature of the abyss. And suddenly he asks whether the group of Arlenets himself happened. The world around reacts, the space vibrates, from the power of the impact. And here, Arlenet says, even with the presence of holy and caution, the atmosphere of the maze was strange. They avoided battles, acted extremely carefully. Although it sounds like an excuse, she insists, something was wrong. The trap, which was captured by Lily Lu, had to be worn, but worked at that moment. It looked like purposeful activation. The girl replies that she always considered the traps natural, random. But Arlene does not agree. Something was artificial and ominous there. Arlene says she accepts defeat and does not accept, when the reason is unknown. She is sure that something is hidden in the maze. He adds that the investigation was entrusted with the four saints. Therefore, she looks directly to the girl in her eyes and says, she should know what really happened on the expedition. Arlene does not retreat. She asks, why are others silent? Why did Gudak give up? And reminds, the girl has already spoken with Lily Leia. Arlenet looks straight into the eyes and asks the dead friend she once mentioned. He looks at his hands. Something is wrong inside. The feeling is strange and incomprehensible. The tormented images of the past come back. The collapse barely holds back emotions, and Arlenet insists. She wants to know the truth. Under pressure and doubt, the collapse solidifies with an empty look, torn between silence and confession. Recently, lunch alone, she survived something unexpected. Her attention was attracted by an unfamiliar figure. A calm, balanced, with an unusual look and a smile. The collapse secretly watches the stranger, captured by his special, almost charming appearance. She cannot understand whether a man or a woman who only warms her curiosity. The stranger, noticing his eyes, smiles mysteriously. It is suitable, and asks without ceremonies whether you can join. The surprised collapse agrees. The stranger sits with a smile, takes the menu, and the collapse tries to keep calm, although even more intrigued. He tells with his friends, he returned for a second back in time. Delivered in reflection, the collapse suddenly returns to reality when the stranger turns to her direction. Informally, they say, "Hey, miss." Smiling, he asks which dish here is the most delicious. This unexpected immediacy is confused from the panther. The other explains that it was in that second that he had time to support him. With a slight smile, he asks that she would advise a regular client. She, with a smile, replies that she would not complete the spell without his protection, and the bodies he donated would not be restored. He smiles awkwardly. In the end, she says that any dish will be good, but meat is especially successful. Recommends a corporate dish, 3 portions of pork ribs and unlimited rice, a real call even for the hungry. He says that the result was shocking, spectacular, and even fun, despite the risk. His internal organs exploded, as if a balloon. The whole Bach confirmed everything. But a real shock is when he orders 2 portions at once. The collapse in shock, as is the waitress. Dishes are brought from bitter meat. It seems crazy. Confessed, I thought he would die, and he died. The aroma and quantity are the pride of the cook. This is the test even for the most heightest. The girl gently hugs Eunice, and the other character sighs. The situation becomes more difficult for everyone. The guy is a little shocked, but does not have time to say something. A loud sound is raging behind. The girls laugh while sitting in front of a mountain of food. He expresses gratitude while sitting on the ground, not recovering from the battle. The voltage increases. The owner claps the cook on the back, and the collapse tries to say something, but barely pronounces the words. The cook in one motion breaks 2 boards. A woman with a confident smile calms the girl. You should not worry. With a decisive look and smile, the girl takes the sticks and states that he has a great appetite. Eunice hesitates, shrinks, and honestly confesses he is not sure. Having eaten everything, she is rejected with pleasure, and the owners lie exhausted on the floor, stunned by her appetite. One of the clients, inspired by what you see, orders the same. Another girl asks why a girlfriend eats so little, but only replies that it is not very hungry. Looking at the girlfriend, she quietly says that he does not seem a bad person. She is beating from the panther. She does not understand why it came right now. Although it is not officially described, many have heard and experienced it when they overcome the fatal trials. Thank you for the dish. She throws a few coins on the table, saying that everything is always solved, and it is easy to go. Before leaving, she looks at a girlfriend with a decisive smile and says she can handle everything herself. But she looks silently after her. She is amazed at her confidence. 2 young men go a dark cave when they suddenly notice a strange man with a smile that is slowly approaching. Those who have passed through this are achieving a completely new level that is unattainable in the usual way. One of the guys asks what he is doing here and whether he can be trusted. The tension increases, and the stranger remains smiling, trying to reassure them. After the conversation, they decide to come back. Despite the experience, the awakening has already gone out, although the forces remained at a new level. Jir, as if hypnotized, looks at the flames, whispering that it is real. Friends watch, relaxing a little. The girl jokes that the fire finally got their makeshift settlement. Recognizes, has not yet reached the level of myself. What has been a tension recently has now become a nice evening by the fire. Even a stranger who was silent before smiles, enjoying rare harmony. It is better to try to go back than never return. Smiling, he states that he can light a fire at any time. Unexpectedly, he remembers Arlene, her status among the holy knights. Everyone looks at him. Where does he know such information? The tension increases again. He says that the boss was lower than the average in the battle, that is very surprising the hero. He mentally returns to the tense moments of the battle. The youth is stunned. He is a legend, the youngest archimage in history. Eunice's words make them listen to more closely. Suddenly Gur shuddered and shouted in surprise, "Ah!" Zrenya, not understanding what was happening. And Lililea is a holiday that saved the whole island. Although they belong to the lower class, each of them is equal to a medium-level creature, and their true danger is in group support. She notes, if you defeat the commander, so the whole pack will quickly lose its combat force. Others carefully absorb this information. They respond embarrassedly. They were fishing, drinking water, even giving the duels on their hands. Eunice is even more surprised. Such lightness is not clear to him. They discuss the creature in the room, and Gur asks why there are no tools. When he is asked as he was here, Eunice explains. He used a magical portal that had previously suffered Lililea and followed it. Both are surprised. Eunice praises their courage and skills without hiding a genuine admiration. And after the check, everything is clear. It is really an orchestra. Gur recognizes that the creature who killed him was, although the middle level, but still not the strongest. Nevertheless, he tries to maintain modesty, realizes that he overestimated his own strength. Lililea jokingly asks whether he has depression, and does not cry. He denies but looks disappointed. Jir confesses his pride was pathetic. He understands that he should accept it. He is not one of those who ignore the defeat. It's time to move forward and perceive everything as a new beginning. The voltage drops a little. Jir is still angry, but states that he always agrees with everything, and others have to share responsibility. He insists everyone should be responsible for their actions. Words make Lily feel a slight shame. They decide it is because of this that you need to return. If an even stronger creature happens, it will be their end, because the second experience rarely happens. Others agree and notice Gur is thoughtful. They ask that he is disturbing. Jir hopes if Eunice came to save them. He smiles and confirms, though he adds that this chaos began. Despite the difficulties, everyone laughs. He saw the death of the boss of the third floor with his own eyes, and killed him. Jir, embarrassed, denies sharply. Seeing this, Eunice recognizes his mistake, but Jir screams that no one thinks of extra. Eunice emphasizes that it was his direct decision, with all responsibility. Jir is confused in explanations and finally admits they just got lost without planning anything serious. He honestly tells about the situation. Eunice and Lily listen in silence, looking at him. In despair, Jir shouts, "They have a terrible orientation with Lily." But with his hands, he seriously confirms. The deer, which was with it, adds nervously, "There was indeed a room on the boss, and he clearly remembers the number 68 engraved on the wall." Eunice confirms the meaning of this symbol. "Handle," he states, "let everyone just laugh at it." Lily does not restrain and laughs loudly, but Jir grunts that you should not laugh. Meanwhile, Eunice is silent. His silence attracts Lily's attention. Further, Eunice explains, the deeper into the maze, the stronger the bosses. This is an inviolable rule. Their level of mana also grows on each floor, and confirms they have a truly terrible sense of direction. He also dropped so deeply, wandering. He emphasizes that Jir faced such an enemy on the third floor is an alarming sign, but this is only the tip of the iceberg. Usually bosses cannot leave their hall, but this creature violated this rule. The maze by itself is an anomalous place. Even the middle apocryphatic beasts of this rule are observed. They do not come out of their boundaries. Eunice recalls that the orchestra did not operate until the gear himself opened the door. This reaffirms again that monsters have its behavioral restriction, but the weaker creature managed to escape an attack is absurd. Eunice himself is surprised. How did she do? Eunice smiles proudly. Bingo. The tension decreases and the face radiates pleasure. He explains that the creation of new magic requires special conditions. But even without that, he says, he would impress him with anyone. For a moment he stops, picking up words, and Jir and Lilia look at him interested. Eunice modestly notes that Much has achieved a lot thanks to the mentor. But when it goes deeper, the Jir is lost and asks to explain easier. In ancient times, the atmosphere was saturated with mana, but Eunice continues to be confidently. Even in the dark depths, it can direct star energy. A magical pattern appears around it. Gir's breath. The sweat flows from the forehead. The feeling of magical pressure is stunning. He cannot breathe on full breaths. The voltage increases. Eunice does not exclude the worst. Yes, it is possible. Finally, he says, now he will tell. The air becomes even denser. Everyone is waiting for the truth. With a smile, Eunice states that his strength here is reduced by 80% and almost useless. With a frivolous gesture of the raised hand adds, nothing wrong. Jir falls, stunned. Jir drops on his knees and shouts, give peace! Everything is absurd. His cry conveys all hopelessness. Finally, he confesses, there are lost pages in the apocryphal records. All are amazed. Lilia explains that the fire destroyed part of the records 700 years ago. Together with the original, they were affected. Eunice learns that Jir and Lilia have been stuck at this level for 3 weeks. They tried everything, but they could not escape. And among them, the battle with the falling king. But she learned the truth. Rasti did not kill the falling king. He only sealed him in that place. It shocks Jira, but Eunice admits he also suspected it. And it adds, the maze is not a natural formation. It's pseudo-labyrinth. Jir says that even the sword struck did not change anything. The door is adamant. Lilia suggests that the records could be intentionally destroyed in ancient times. This raises suspicion of the existence of a hidden history. Beginning with the broadcast, Eunice releases a wave of magic that envelops his body, filling the space with energy. The found facts hint at one thing. Monsters try to escape. Eunice calls for water to fill the engraving on the door. A full pattern is visible. She carefully examines the labyrinth seal. The magical structure is rapidly destroyed, keeping the forces that are about to break through. Now that the pattern is visible, Lily looks carefully at him, trying to unravel his content. Eunice says with confidence that he already guessed the nature of the circle. Jir, interested, asks what it is, and the whole trinity is approaching, looking at the pattern. All apocryphal beasts, from the average to the most dangerous, will escape simultaneously. But he denies, though he notes, their appearance here is hardly accidental. Jir agrees. There is something more behind it. Looking carefully in the picture, Lily is surprised. The pattern is engraved with extreme accuracy. But there is even more scary. If the king wakes up, the world will sink into Mani, which will only exacerbate the clutter. They are covered by insights. They are involved, much larger than it seemed. The narrator recalls that Rusty's religion has apocryphal writings. These texts do not teach morals, do not have a complete story. Their content is mysterious and dangerous, and this is where the group now faces. Then the story describes the history of the Paddy King, an enemy who once sought to destroy God. The texts also refer to the epic battle against the Apostle Rusty. The detected circle is a direct connection with this ancient threat. After all the reflection, Eunice summarizes the situation with a clicking of the fingers, and then he quit. You have a terrible sense of orientation. Jir warns immediately. Just don't run away. With a smile, Eunice says he is with them now. The scene ends on a light note, despite seriousness. It is during the darkening that the man will be the most concentrated, and the labyrinth seal can finally collapse. A new suspicion appears in the discussion of the threat. Someone on the surface may act first. They remember the cathedral in the city. It is somehow related to the labyrinth. Jir skeptically brings his eyebrows. Sounds like an exaggeration. Lily is also clearly upset. The group assumes someone can try to destroy the cathedral to weaken the labyrinth protection. It may be a supporter of a Paddy King who secretly destroys the threats to the success of his plan. And he was only a weak, apocryphal beast. It shocks Lily, and Jir does not believe the eyes. He is amazed. Why are these creatures still alive because Rasti allegedly destroyed them? Eunice agrees. It is very suspicious. Jir asks, are the rumors that the maze is associated with the fallen king? Eunice replies, yes, traces are real. There is only 3 days left before the eclipse, and the seal may not withstand. They do not know how many floors are still left, but at least they should try to strengthen the seal to the deadline. But Eunice notes that this circle is not quite the same as the original. It not only protects externally, but also holds something inside. Lil Leia with a serious tone turns to Jira. This situation really didn't have to relate to you. He believes that the key is needed for destruction, and it will allow you to open a circle without harm. Jir thinks of the key. Lilia agrees. The group is aware. To get on, they need to find this item. Lily Leia explains. She has a mission to seal the Patty King. Without one of them, it is impossible. It is designed so that it can be broken, but only a combination of holy magic and the analyst of the seals. Eunice summarizes that this spell was created to be removed by Caesar. The barrier should have been destroyed from the outset. He explains that the entire maze is associated with the fallen king. However, if they meet the creature stronger than the previous ones, the chances will be scanty. Now this path leads only to death. After all the serious speech, Eunice jokes that he really has no idea that it is a circle. The annoyed Jir plunges into magical water and goes to bed. Lilia laughs, discharging the atmosphere, though recognizes Eunice. They lack knowledge. They do not even understand what they do not know. The mystery is only deepened. Eunice is amazed why Jir learned nothing about the maze. He recognizes he knows nothing. But even so, he finds the strength to say a difficult request while the girl is silent. Eunice is stunning. Jir is not even registered as an adventurer. It explains it all. I know. The girl is not obliged to go to battle. But still, with a decisive look, she asks her for help. Fear presses on his heart, but he asks everyone to take the risk of the world and lead them into the depth of the maze. With passion in the heart, he is ready to go forward, despite fear and doubt. He asks Jira whether he has an explanation why he was glowing. But Jir has no idea. Nothing suspicious can remember. He extends his hand. He does not cope. The girl smiles and presses her, accepting the choice. Jir corresponds to a confident nod. They will go together. The handshake fastened the union. He remembers how it all began. His goal was to conquer the maze. With a new determination and an ally, he takes the first step. He recalls, Jir spent 4 months in the most dangerous maze, and that made it stronger. Every step is not just a movement, but the result of the experience. One of them is confident. Lilia and Eunice agree, and Jir in despair shouts that pride is an enemy. He reacts violently to praise and fascinates that he has become a target for mockery. Eunice smiles and proposes to stop provocations. It has a new idea, and the group is intensely preparing to listen to it. Eunice approaches the massive doors and suggests that it is time to go there together. The apocryphal monster is spreading over the city. The explosive roar and the attack. The city plunges into the ruin. The battle with the creature begins. At this point, the warrior is aware. The return of the fall of the king is already close. He remembers his path. He once sought to conquer the maze, and now only sinks deeper. To go means to give up. The group runs forward to have time to catastrophe. The city is on the verge of destruction. One of the men orders everyone to follow Arlenette, and he goes in search of the family, promising to return. Moreover, he warned Arlenette about possible delay. It will not worry for at least half a year. Lily thanks sincerely, and the group is finally fully set to cross this door. But suddenly one of the young men falls into a deep abyss. A desperate cry is heard. Hearing it, the girl is instantly straining. A minute of hesitation. It stops and decides to act on its own, despite the danger. When the rest continues the path, she asks them not to stop. She prepares for the battle. Among the ruins of the city, the baby cries, squeezing the wounded mother. He is helplessly shouting for help. The girl finds them and, without thinking, rushes to rake the debris, trying to save both. Lilia reminds that they had already passed the maze with Jir. And with Eunice, they will be able to overcome anything. Eunice declares with passion, now he is also part of the team. And with such a 3, they just have no equal. It extends the baby's hand, holding it firmly. It will not allow the loss to repeat. The baby smiles shyly, but suddenly something strange attracts attention. A sinister sound. Massive creatures emerge from the ruins. Giant, dangerous. The girl is straying. The threat is closer than she imagined. But there is a problem. Who will now lead them if everyone has a catastrophic sense of orientation? I want to run, but she understands. You may have to fight to protect the baby. The monster is approaching the roar, and she, clamping the baby in the arms, prepares for the fight. The step is step by step, looking at least some way for escape or battle. And at this critical moment, allies appear. She looks amazed and calls for a collapse. The heart is filled with relief. He insists. He does not want to decide the route himself, because he had previously suffered because of accusations of wandering. So he proposes to make a decision collectively. Eunice calmly agrees. He honestly admits that he is completely in vain in navigation, and it is better not to trust him. It is puzzled, not understanding where so much anger. The man explains. He wanted to leave her under the protection of the Holy Knights, but she returned. Junis adds that the one who returns the first will become the new conductor of the group. Jir stunned with such an idea, not understanding where she came from so suddenly. But Junis is already delighted. This mad idea seems to him a fun adventure. He commands the start. In positions, attention. March! And all three run through different corridors. The first returns Junis, lightning quickly, which causes concern for the rest. Jir comes second, exhausted but satisfied. The Lily returns the last, exhausted after long wanders. Stubborn, determined, now she inspires as they once inspired themselves. Lily returns from the rainy transition, moving from the happiness that has remained intact. One of the allies turns that the collapse should have been taken out before the tragedy. But support for the girl is stronger. In the tavern, adventurers think, suddenly the girl will also become broken as they are? But they sincerely want her spirit to remain free and not interconnected in the scars of the past. The atmosphere is tense but full of reflection. Everyone sees their mistakes. Suddenly the girl confidently states, she will not escape. It shocks the group. The coach smiles, he predicted it. He admires her determination again. She hesitates, but the question has already been raised. At first, Unis was staying away and asking for permission to simply accompany them until he got used to. Lilia and Jir agreed. Her heart shuddered, but the truth is obvious. One of the allies also confirms. He remains to fight. Inspired, one more exclaims, if not, who will save everyone? Others pick up. It is necessary to protect the relatives, the city, everything that is expensive. It creates a spell using rain. Drops fall, touch the earth and begin to glow, turning into a magical glow. The hour shares the dream of helping the next generation, as they once helped him. He wants to be the foundation where others will be able to reduce something more. Silence is all thoughtful. Jir is upset. He feels unnecessary because he has not been fighting for a long time. It causes an uncomfortable atmosphere, and Unis thinks for a moment, and everyone is thinking about the situation. Since no one is injured, and Unis easily creates protection, Lilia begins to doubt the need for his magic. She notes that both use light magic, and their roles are partially imposed. Jir does not understand what happened until Lily is upset because of the realization that her benefit has decreased. Unis reacts overly. He screams theatrically, begging not to say such sad things. Jir and Lily try to reassure him. Meanwhile, the girl organizes evacuation, calms people, and leads to the cathedral. But one monster breaks through the protection and rushes to civilians. The girl acts instantly. He confesses that he dreamed of such, and compares the adventure with a trip of school. So happy that he barely restrains himself. Lily finds him sweet. The purse explodes a bright flash of light, a light bomb. The monster stops only for a moment. The girl understands. There is little time, and the threat is yet to come. Jir notes that apparently they have been taken to the library only since childhood. Junis confirms that adults are not accepted there. Meanwhile, adventurers coordinate protection. The 5th Street is cleared, and reinforcements are needed to the east. And suddenly it is covered by euphoria. This is his first expedition in the real world. Lily enthusiastically shares this joy with him. But Jir carefully reminds, though they do not want to celebrate, they are still in the most dangerous maze. Meanwhile, Lilia and Junis continue to have fun. Jumping from joy, Junis says it is impossible not to relax in such an atmosphere. Jir agrees. Now their combat force is 3 times greater. In despair, she screams Holland, warning of a new threat. The monster collapses into the center of the group, causing an explosive wave. He rejects adventurers with a blow. Lilia is catching. They say, sounds like a self-righteous speech, which Unis recognizes with a smile. Yes, he knows. He realizes that this battle will be much more complicated. The Dutch, even captured, does not release the bow and continues to fight. In his look, he is a promise not to give up. He stands to the end. He is rejected on the roof, but the girl saves him at the last moment. After a short gratitude, the teams were the best in their time and they could not move further. Jir understands in silence. The reason lies in something more. The Dutch and Code again agreed with the creature face to face. The voltage reaches the limit. He really believed that he would die in that battle. Junis confirms that the enemy was extremely dangerous. Lily listens impressed. It was an apocryphal creature, one of the largest and most powerful in the maze. The magicians trigger the spell at the same time. The magical circle was beasting. It erupts, but still restrained. But Junis clarifies. Preliminary data were before the transformation of the creature. In the first phase, the boss was at a nightmare level, but then transformed into a true horror. In a flashback, the creature turns into a monster. Gur is forced to fight on the verge of strength to survive. The colon calls for not to stop for a moment, to shoot until the last. Returning to the conversation, Lily confesses that she survived only through his experience. Jir says that he also does not fully understand the principle. He knows that it can even be punched with it. His arrow is the last chance. The coat is carefully watching and notices something strange in the creature. Lilia confesses that she finally told the children as if invented, because no one was taken seriously. Junis silently watches her, knowing how she tried to explain, though she did not hear. Noticing that he was delving in thought, Junis apologizes. They say he just thought. Lily suggests that perhaps simply overestimates the situation, and jokes. So says the hero, who is about to die in a detective novel. Everyone laughs. Holland is just in front of him. He does not have time. The collage screams, seeing the danger, but she notices a weak place and sounds Holland to attack. Despite the flames, they rush together. In his thoughts, he scolds the coat for her risk, but does not stop. Her advice still live in it. She is aware that the main thing in battle is to use the right one. Movement, and the liquid flies to the flame. The combustible substance hit. The Dutch breaks forward, preparing an accurate blow at the right moment. Meanwhile, the girl looks at the fire of her home, only ruins among the ashes. A man approaches it and with sympathy extends a vessel with water. The girl thanks and accepts help. Thoughts hold her mind firm. Even in hell you cannot give up. The body burns, but it does not break. He adds that the Inquisitors from the Order of Holy Night will begin the investigation. The man asks whether these events are related to anxiety. He reports that the same night disappeared. The dream becomes her strength. She points to Holland, a weak place of the monster. Dutch, burned but solid, prepares a decisive shot right. The new report shows that the magician with the banner of the stars was seen near the ruins. Exhausted, Dutch screams among the debris, looking for a coat. Now he suspects that everything is much worse than it seems. There is something more behind everything. The Holland calls a healer and asks the courage not to move, promising help. He sighs with relief and confesses that there would be no victory without her. Dutch, trembling, says, each of them protects something, but asks to collapse not to become like them. The collapse feels the weight of what is said, but understands. It is too early to breathe in pity. She accepts the words of Holland when a stranger with a serious look appears before them. But suddenly he draws his eyes. The sky turns black with swarms of winged monsters. The threat returned. The Holland mentions the past group. Earlier the Godak was different, and the team worked quite differently. The images of old times float before the eyes. Holland takes the initiative, an immediate evacuation to the cathedral, save at least civilians. The group decides to restrain the enemy to win time. One of them exclaims, "Now it is a threat to the whole country." The fighter with the shield takes a blow. Others call the Godak. He confidently goes forward. The strategy works. It works strongly. A powerful blow to the weak place of the monster. The team rejoices. One of the fighters smiles proudly, remembering those times as the best. In memory of two comrades, there are warm memories. One of them says confidently, "Godak has never been suspicious." Despite despair, no one runs away. The Holland moves forward, and suddenly an alarming cry is heard. Something is wrong. Behind the pot of coffee, one of the members remembers the days when the team still had a rank B. Then most beginners could not reveal their potential in other groups. There became a place for those who have been left. Godak had a special gift to work with such people. But then, the memory of a wounded friend makes the heart shrink. Everything is getting worse. One of them is sure. Everything changed when Godak took that magic sword. The sword frame, which burns and flows with blood, emphasizes the importance of that moment. Everyone gets away from shock. A new threat is rapidly approaching from the sky. She is in the cloak, mysterious and powerful. With a lightning movement, an armed soldier jumps deep into the crowd of winged monsters, ready for battle. The monsters fall into the city, bringing even more chaos. On the horizon, a powerful explosion, indicating the scale of the battle. One of them recalls that she has already heard something like, in the maze of the rank A, called the deep depths, located on the intermediate floor with the characteristics of the marine depths. She remembers a salty underground lake, and the interlocutor confirms that it really was, but warns, complete eclipse is close. This is only the beginning of something much more scary. The magician creates in the sky a star map. A giant charming circle announces the activation of his most powerful technique. That this sword left someone who died in the maze is a place full of deadly dangers. Meteors comb the sky, forming dazzling traces. The stroke of the star level is striking. One blow can change everything. A familiar figure appears in the thicket of chaos. The holiday returned, cheerful, though she was late. She gladly welcomes the audience. Everything seemed to be right, but the feeling of anxiety did not leave the heart. Despite the success, Godak changed, and it was felt from every movement. Despite the strategic plans, it decides to act on its own. So he left the detachment until everything got worse. But even departing, he could not forget that strange transformation of the Godak. The woman notices the spell acts on animals. It is preparing to use a chance. The atmosphere is calm, light, as opposed to the pressure of the past. He smiles, feeling the true meaning of life. Godak watches, praises the Holland family, calling it wonderful. Those who were on the verge of death are recovering. The girl rushes into the arms of the mother with tears of joy. He confesses that he did not intervene because of his loved ones when the Godak attacked Jira. The woman understands that the silence of all then was caused by fear. The girl also notices her wounds disappeared, and at the same time, they and Holland see a figure that slowly steps the roof, as if nothing had happened. Another woman reports that the Holy Knights have been watching his home for several days. If the Netrock appears, they will not stand aside. Holland notices movement, comments on it. Reinforcement works. Turning coffee, the Holland directly asks what the latest events have to do with them. The woman in glasses seriously asks a counter-question. What connects the church with all this? The air in the room becomes heavier. The woman is silently preparing for an important statement. 3 days of continuous struggle against monsters. Everyone is faded but not broken. Holland is stunned, begins to realize that everything is much more serious than it seemed. The main character breaks into the room, loudly shouting the name of someone dear, frightening everyone around. One of the attendees is uncertain. The woman looks carefully in his face. She seems to have seen him before. Dutland confesses that he does not have clear answers yet, but already understands the scale of the threat. The woman continues, this is not to say. Already 3 saints have warned about it. The girl nearby tries to understand what is happening. She remembers. He said that he was on their side. Meanwhile, another silently watches. Among the prophets that confirmed the vision was the legendary Archimag, so the danger is not just rumors. Holland is affected. The cup falls out of your hands. The guy is silent, immersed in thoughts. The girl continues. If they were not, they would all be dead. Concerned, asks whether they hint that a Endak is associated with a fallen king. The woman confirms. This is only a hypothesis. The voltage in the air increases. The girl nearby processes the herd, stunned by the possibility of betrayal of a friend. She looks at her cup focused until she notices something strange. The liquid trembles, as if something is approaching. It widens the eyes, begins to take the events. If you carefully trace the timeline, everything is linked. The woman adds that a magical sword, capable of erasing everything to gunpowder, can be directly related to the fallen king. The land shudders. The coffee cup begins to spin, and the liquid to spin into a funnel. The crack from the window scares everyone. It becomes clear. Something is approaching. A bright explosion of energy that pierces the sky and beats the center flashes over the city. The doors dissolve with a roar. Everyone runs out, covered with fear and surprise. The girl points to the majestic building in the distance. This is the cathedral. The guy looks hard, trying to recognize the place. The sky fills the winged creature, a giant, formidable, with a hanging aura of the threat. One of the present instantly recognizes the danger. It is an apocryphal beast, an extremely rare and dangerous creature. Everything came out of control. Unexpectedly, the guy grabs the ally by the hand and prepares to go. The girl is trying to stop, but the decision is already made. She extends him spare glasses, which she has stored for a long time. The guy with a strange smile and scattered look says that now, and others will understand his feeling. Since they have passed the second door, the girl fades, does not understand what he conceived, and suddenly he throws his glasses into the sky. Faced with 2 powerful creatures, the guy attacks full power. He realizes something has changed in it. The opponents are too strong. Everyone has magic worthy of legendary monsters. But the guy puts them and begins to show them enthusiastically. The sky, the stones, even the dog. As if for the first time he sees the world. The girl nods silently, not knowing how to react. He is delighted. Thanks to his glasses, he sees everything. Someone is surprised. They have already reached 170 floors. Pretend that there may be all 200 and the other corrects. Sisley says, there will be 216. It's 6 in Cuba. Such an accurate answer is surprising. It seems that the maze has more logic than it seems. She is surprised, but thanks sincerely. And he just smiles warmth. It is first manifested in care and tenderness. The rest looks at her silently. One of the boys comments sarcastically, "From the mouth of the saint, it sounds convincing, even if it is just a guess." The girl is embarrassed and tries to explain, but he continues to joke, they say. Her intuition weakens when she is far from stars. The offended guy rushes at him. He jokes that it is thanks to glasses. The girl smiles. He says he is fit. The guy shines with joy, accepting a compliment. A staff woman reports that she has good news for them. He mentally confesses. If he went with others, according to the original plan, it would hardly live up to this point. The mountains with irony asks how it can be considered good. The woman only smiles carelessly, leaving everyone in high tension. Looking at the ceiling of the cave, he thinks that it was only through the unity of this trinity that they managed to go so far. The girl looks at the figure with a sword that is confidently approaching. She asks whether it is an enemy that Jir mentioned. He confirms. It is a leader of animals. She jokes that Jir often chats with himself, and he is genuinely surprised. Is it really so often? Both give examples. And the Jir, asleep, admits, yes, it happens. It seems to them a little naive, but at the same time, sweet. The girl with a smile confesses that she even envies a little that she has not joined. Jir tries to reach. The resurrection of the fall is a futile business. The abyss has already been sealed, the saint and Archimag, and even the destruction of the cathedral will not change anything. She turns to Jira, but he hesitates. The enemy's mind is already lost. He falls to the ground, whispers something barely audible. He asks everyone to flee, because it is impossible to win Venish. The woman and the girl are shocked. Jir comments in amazement. He is even when he feels. This is the level of S-class. The half-dead enemy says that no person will overcome this magical sword. Another guy jokingly asks whether Jir will write to him letters. Despite the hopelessness, he squeezed the remnants of consciousness to stop the resurrection. To the last, he resisted the sword control. But finally, with a light smile and a blush, he admits, not. The girl happily observes. The connection between them becomes only stronger. He remembers that he was sent to the maze for the seal of evil, but a distorted opponent assures, it is impossible, even for him. In his last wave of consciousness, the creature asks everyone to flee. It is no longer saved, but the young warrior stands firmly. Despite inexperience, he is ready to accept the challenge and looks in the eyes of horror. The mountains compresses the sword firmly. He will prove that the path of the enemy was not in vain. He is more reborn before the threat. The sword of the mountains returned. Nevertheless, he understands. This adventure was not so terrible. Compared to the chaotic start, it is in its place. With enthusiasm, Jir opens the gate, uttering a humorous phrase. They are sure. Victory is close. But as soon as the door is moving, it happens terrible. In a moment, Jira strikes a devastating blow. His body begins to break up. It seems to be absorbed by pure energy, shocking everyone. The character is carefully approaching the door filled with bright light. In front of him is a mysterious figure with a hood and a pendant in the form of a rectangle. Her gaze expresses unexpected surprise. Two fighters simultaneously rush, causing a flash of blinding energy. One activates a magical shield, the other prepares the spell. The voltage reaches the height. A bird illuminated in the sky. His body glows with energy like a living lightning. The guy with anxiety monitors the creation. The movements of the bird are unusual, and something in it is disturbed. A ray that hit the magic barrier breaks out of the beak. A powerful explosion is rejected both back. They retain protection. Concentrating, they both create an explosion of magic on their own. A heavy flash destroys everything in front of them. They are thrown back, but one of them remains to stand, wrapped in a fiery glow. But soon he falls to the ground. The body is exhausted and wounded. The look is directed into the sky where the stars are flicker. He extends his right, baked, cracked. The only opinion is throbbing. The east. He has to do something. Eyes flashing determination. He whispers with cold confidence, the enemy must fall. Powerful energy erupts from his hands. The target in the air, the impact is inevitable. The enemy throws and throws away. The battle is not completed, but the initiative goes to the hero. The space of the impact cracks. A huge clock appears in the sky, as if a symbol of a break of time. The clock's arrow suddenly turns back. The bell hum is heard. 1 second is rewinding. Although the body of the hero is broken, and consciousness fades, in the look is an unwavering will. There is something more in it. Despite the pain and loss of strength, the heart does not seem. His soul lives. And it approaches light, powerful, bright, as if on the verge of an explosion. He whispers, Jir. And his hand falls. though he tries to keep in touch with this moment. Extends a hand to the soul that is ahead. The movement is familiar. He saw it before. In dreams, this gesture has repeated thousands of times. The desire to keep what has always slipped. He imagined this moment again and again, with a decisive look, with his outstretched hand, was ready. It has passed so many times that it is now instinctive. How many times he tried to grab this soul, repeated to perfection. And now, the same moment. He activates his deadly technique with marginal concentration. Secret sword technique is unfolding. His movement is lightning. The world around reacts, the space vibrates, from the power of the impact. And here, the technique of lunar sleep is performed. A magical attack of incredible beauty and strength. 2 shining birds appear in the sky. The hero looks into the eyes of the enemy. It is time for a decisive blow. The enemy falls to the ground, and the hero drops to his knees. The body is exhausted. The heart is pounding. He extends his hand, lean to the ground, in the air tension and bitter relief. On the face, fear and confusion, as if he did not believe in what happened. Touches the face, remembering the battle that has just rushed around him. He returns the memory to the moment he went into the boss's room and immediately hit his back. He looks at his hands. Something is wrong inside. The feeling is strange and incomprehensible. Suddenly someone shouts, "Don't move!" And the voice sounds anxious. Eunice is called by name. He shudder, full of surprise. The girl laughs. They say, "Again bent the stick." But suddenly the guy gets a slight blow. The scene changes to the comic heated. She strictly quarrels, reminding that she was forbidden to speak. Eunice is silent, looks guilty and confused, does not answer. Then suddenly laughs with relief. They say, "I already thought that he had died." She admits that he really died. Now he will live modestly. Others joke, pride is a path to pain. But he does not fully understand what happened. He tells with his friends. He returned for a second back in time. This is a new technique that he opened on the edge of the starway. It was thanks to it that became an archmage. The girl confirms that she mentioned this magic. Usually the technique requires the alignment of stars and long-term preparations, but this time it was risked. It can only return for a moment, but it was enough to defeat the boss. The other explains that it was in that second that he had time to support him. Eunice thanks Lilia, rejoices that their battle was not in vain. She, with a smile, replies that she would not complete the spell without his protection, and the bodies he donated would not be restored. He smiles awkwardly. Eunice remembers how he used to use this spell in a cave where there was no star mana. Then he relied only on his own vitality, and laughs at that experience. He says that the result was shocking, spectacular, and even fun, despite the risk. His internal organs exploded as if a balloon. The whole Bach confirmed everything. Friends laugh, teasing. They say Lilia has updated you as a great holiday. Although the mood is easy, in his soul he cannot forgive his weakness. Confessed, "I thought he would die, and he died." It is covered by apathy. You no longer want to move or speak. The girl gently hugs Eunice, and the other character sighs. The situation becomes more difficult for everyone. The scene subsides. Silence conveys the emotional weight of the newly experienced moment. Eunice thanks to his comrades for his support and help in battle. He expresses gratitude while sitting on the ground, not recovering from the battle. They exchange soft smiles filled with warmth. In response, there is a simple "for nothing," which brings relief after a difficult test. One of them asks, will he continue to win the bosses of floors as before? Eunice hesitates, shrinks, and honestly confesses he is not sure. He says he won due to awakening that made it possible to use the technique of turning time immediately after the experience. Others confirm that something similar has passed, and it has raised their rank. He speaks of a mysterious phenomenon, experience. Although it is not officially described, many have heard and experienced it when they overcome the fatal trials, be it a battle on the verge of death or deep knowledge. As if the magician touched the great truth. In this state, the abilities grow explosively, allowing incredible things. Then comes awakening. Even in the long run, rank growth is associated with this phenomenon. Jira's blow that changed the course of the battle was its consequence. Those who have passed through this are achieving a completely new level that is unattainable in the usual way. And although such force can be obtained gradually, it would take years. Experience directly affects the true potential. After the conversation, they decide to come back. Despite the experience of experience, the awakening has already gone out, although the forces remained at a new level. Eunice feels as strong as his teacher during a battle with a poisonous dragon. He believes that even without awakening, he will be able to confidently fight the boss of the same class. Recognizes, has not yet reached the level of myself. Lighting was not a mistake. but a consequence of a lack of pure power. He confesses to his inexperience. He assumes that the world is limitless. But as long as there is life, there is hope. And although the path will be long up, it will not stop. It is better to try to go back than never return. The other agrees. It is a reasonable thought. But he hesitates. Doubts are still sitting in it. They turn to Lily Leia, asking her Bosyar whether it was an apocryphal creature, but replies it was a medium level. He says that the boss was lower than the average in the battle. That is very surprising the hero. He mentally returns to the tense moments of the battle. Hirsch sits on the earth with an empty look, staring up, as if he were looking for an answer in the sky. Suddenly Gur shuddered and shouted in surprise. Ah! Zarinya, not understanding what was happening. He is explained. Orchestras are a kind of birds that attack the flock. Although they belong to the lower class, each of them is equal to a medium-level creature, and their true danger is in group support. She notes, if you defeat the commander, so the whole pack will quickly lose its combat force. Others carefully absorb this information. One of the friends is confused in the subject of birds, but the conversation changes the tone. Jokes about the nature of Rak are even more surprised at Gur. They discuss the creature in the room, and Gur asks why there are no tools. But he says with confidence, this is exactly the orchestra. She explains. Apocryphal creatures always have a number on the body that indicates the appearance, and after the check, everything is clear. It is really an orchestra. Gear recognizes that the creature who killed him was, although the middle level, but still not the strongest. Nevertheless, he tries to maintain modesty, realizes that he overestimated his own strength. Lily Leia jokingly asks whether he is depression, and does not cry. He denies but looks disappointed. Jir confesses. His pride was pathetic. He understands that he should accept it. He is not one of those who ignore the defeat. It's time to move forward and perceive everything as a new beginning. We need to draw conclusions and go on. Jir doubts that even after the experience, they will cope with the creature of even higher level. Others notice his mood and try to cheer. Jir quickly replies that everything is fine. They decide it is because of this that you need to return. If an even stronger creature happens, it will be their end, because the second experience rarely happens. Others agree and notice. Gir is thoughtful. They ask that he is disturbing. Junis reminds Jir that he saw the death of the boss of the third floor with his own eyes and killed him. Gir confirms this with a short yes, not yet fully realized the scale of the act. Junis emphasizes that it was his direct decision, with all responsibility. Gir explains that the floor in the hall of the boss collapsed when the Godak threw a magic sword, and during the fall, he destroyed the third boss. It is not just the death of the enemy after the battle. The boss fell with him, and it was during the fall that they entered the battle. Jir agrees, still not believing that it happened. The deer, which was with it, adds nervously. There was indeed a room on the boss, and he clearly remembers the number 68, engraved on the wall. Junis confirms the meaning of this symbol. He calls Lily Lay, and he seriously agrees, recognizing the truth of the data. She explains that the boss, which was won by Gir, though he was from the lower class, had a force that exceeded the nightmare. Junis summarizes that Gir has achieved much more than he thought. Eunice states with a serious face, the creature that Gir won was not a real boss of the third floor. It stuns the guy, leaving him in a full stupor. Further, Junis explains, the deeper into the maze, the stronger the bosses. This is an inviolable rule. Their level of mana also grows on each floor. That is, even if the power of the enemy varies due to the ability of the one who challenges it, the overall complexity always grows. He emphasizes that Jir faced such an enemy on the third floor is an alarming sign. But this is only the tip of the iceberg. Usually bosses cannot leave their hall, but this creature violated this rule. The maze by itself is an anomalous place. Even the middle apocryphatic beasts of this rule are observed. They do not come out of their boundaries. Junis recalls that the orchestra did not operate until the Gir himself opened the door. This reaffirms again that monsters have its behavioral restriction, but the weaker creature managed to escape and attack is absurd. Eunice himself is surprised. How did she do? He suggests that the monster was probably transformed, showed his true form. The simplest explanation. The boss of the third floor was an apocryphal beast, released from the rules of the maze. However, Junis also voices another hypothesis. Jir still cannot comprehend the logic of what has been said. Eunice further explains, the maze is weaker. This can explain the weirdness of the behavior of the Geoface monster. In ancient times, the atmosphere was saturated with mana. The monsters then lived outside the mazes, and pose a true threat to humanity. Lily asks, Can modern beasts exist outside the maze? Eunice is not sure, but he notes, then the monsters were like dangerous neighbors of mankind. And now we may see the return of the same conditions, and that means that ancient monsters can break free again. Jir is amazed. Will the apocryphal era really return? Eunice does not exclude the worst. Yes, it is possible. The group recognizes that they have already faced one of such monsters, similar to a creature from the past. Jir recognizes. He can no longer deny that the apocryphal era can be repeated. Jir is puzzled, cannot comprehend everything. One of his comrades tries to reassure him. He may be too difficult. The lily is hesitant. Finally, he confesses, there are lost pages in the apocryphal records. All are amazed. Lilia explains that the fire destroyed part of the records 700 years ago. Together with the original, they were affected. 7 volumes of the first manuscript. Everything that has been preserved from the second, blurry, difficult to distinguish the truth. As a child, she read these books and imagined great battles, and among them, the battle with the falling king. But she learned the truth. Rasti did not kill the falling king. He only sealed him in that place. It shocks Jira, but Junis admits he also suspected it. And it adds, the maze is not a natural formation, it's pseudo-labyrinth, created by the structure and mana of the sealed falling king. Lilia suggests that the records could be intentionally destroyed in ancient times. This raises suspicion of the existence of a hidden history. Jir tries to comprehend everything and asks, is the weakening of the maze with... The found facts hint at one thing. Monsters try to escape. Leia says with an alarming look, the problem is much deeper than it seems. She carefully examines the labyrinth seal. The magical structure is rapidly destroyed, keeping the forces that are about to break through. The group is awake. The seal is about to break. Everyone is in tension because they do not imagine what will happen next. The atmosphere thickens. The danger is much higher than their expectations. If the seal collapses, the disaster will begin. All apocryphal beasts, from the average to the most dangerous, will escape simultaneously. And then there will be no gate. The world will no longer remain the same. These creatures will be on the surface, causing chaos and death. But there is even more scary. If the king wakes up, the world will sink into Mani, which will only exacerbate the clutter. The girl confesses that if the seal really falls, the current civilization will disappear, as well as the previous ones. Jir is amazed at the heart. Now he is aware of the scale of the threat. The mountains understands the seriousness of the situation and insists, it's time to retreat. They have no right to keep such information with them. You need to get out of the maze and prevent everyone. They are strong, but not almighty. It is not to decide it alone. Everyone is silent. The voltage hangs in the air and the lily and satellite look gloomily. Jir hesitates, steps forward and looks at them. Meanwhile, a complete solar eclipse is coming above the world, and it feels time is enough. It is during the darkening that the man will be the most concentrated, and the labyrinth seal can finally collapse. A new suspicion appears in the discussion of the threat. Someone on the surface may act first. They remember the cathedral in the city. It is somehow related to the labyrinth. It was surprisingly strange why he was so powerful. Now it seems that he is a key element that supports the seal outside. The group assumes someone can try to destroy the cathedral to weaken the labyrinth protection. It may be a supporter of a Paddy King who secretly destroys the threats to the success of his plan. The Godak is mentioned. It can be involved in this dark conspiracy. Understanding this shocks everyone. The group decides, time to act. They cannot afford to delay. One of them says that the feeling of time is distorted, but it is necessary to act immediately. There is only 3 days left before the eclipse, and the seal may not withstand. They do not know how many floors are still left, but at least they should try to strengthen the seal to the deadline. The voltage increases. Someone turns to Gear, hinting, it's time to make an important decision. Lil Leia with a serious tone turns to Jira. This situation really didn't have to relate to you. The confused Jir does not understand why he is eliminated when the danger is only growing. The voltage in the air thickens. 2 important solutions are about to come. Lily Leia explains she has a mission to seal the Paddy King. Without one of them, it is impossible. So she says Jir directly. He is not needed. This is stunning him. Lily adds ruthless. From that point in survival, not guaranteed. Those who continue the path are not just a fight, but a real death. If they meet the creature stronger than the previous ones, the chances will be scanty. Now this path leads only to death. Lily thanks Jir for everything and hints that he should stop. With a smile, she blocks his passage. He went far enough. Jir is amazed. Shackles appear on his hands, holding back further movement. The maze darkens. He sits on the stairs, feeling weak and powerless. Without glasses, he is defenseless. But even so, he finds the strength to say a difficult request while the girl is silent. Their time is limited by eclipse. He is aware of the scale of the test. I know. The girl is not obliged to go to battle, but still, with a decisive look, she asks her for help. Fear presses on his heart, but he asks everyone to take the risk of the world and lead them into the depth of the maze. With passion in the heart, he is ready to go forward, despite fear and doubt. Recognizes, in no way skilled, except the sword, often lost in space. But despite everything, Happy goes on. It is surprised by such sincerity. He extends his hand. He does not cope. The girl smiles and presses her, accepting the choice. Jir corresponds to a confident nod. They will go together. The handshake fastened the union. He remembers how it all began. His goal was to conquer the maze. With a new determination and an ally, he takes the first step. 3 continue the way, tired but with restored hope. Every step is not just a movement, but the result of the experience. One of them is confident. The girl remembers the name that sounded in fairy tales about the ancient enemy. In sacred writings, this creature is described with horror. Her eyes expand from awareness. A dark figure, a servant of a fallen king, appears in the sky. The apocryphal monster is spreading over the city. The explosive roar and the attack. The city plunges into the ruin. The battle with the creature begins. At this point, the warrior is aware. The return of the fall of the king is already close. Without reflection, the girl rushes to the cathedral. It is necessary to act immediately. The group runs forward to have time to catastrophe. The city is on the verge of destruction. One of the men orders everyone to follow Arlene, and he goes in search of the family, promising to return. The young woman cams his teeth, trying to quickly find a solution in the middle of chaos. But suddenly one of the young men falls into a deep abyss. A desperate cry is heard. Hearing it, the girl is instantly straining. A minute of hesitation. It stops and decides to act on its own, despite the danger. When the rest continues the path, she asks them not to stop. She prepares for the battle. Among the ruins of the city, the baby cries, squeezing the wounded mother. He is helplessly shouting for help. The girl finds them and, without thinking, rushes to rake the debris, trying to save both. It works quickly, rejecting the rubble, despite fatigue and panic. It is covered by the memory of the former failure. Then it did not have time to save. But now everything will be different. It extends the baby's hand, holding it firmly. It will not allow the loss to repeat. The baby smiles shyly, but suddenly something strange attracts attention. A sinister sound. Massive creatures emerge from the ruins. Giant, dangerous. The girl is straying. The threat is closer than she imagined. In front of her, monsters from the maze. How did they break here? There is a panic in the head. A baby. I want to run, but she understands. You may have to fight to protect the baby. The monster is approaching the roar, and she, clamping the baby in the arms, prepares for the fight. The step is step by step, looking at least some way for escape or battle. And at this critical moment, allies appear. She looks amazed and calls for a collapse. The heart is filled with relief. The group checks the condition of all. It is important whether all goals. The Dutch reports that most civilians have already been evacuated into the cathedral, only wounded. She rejoices that the collapse is alive. But the Holland explodes. Why is the girl still here, not evacuated? How was it planned? It is puzzled, not understanding where so much anger. The man explains. He wanted to leave her under the protection of the Holy Knights, but she returned. In the end, he admits, she would still not have resigned with removal, and with a smile accepts her stubbornness. Looking at her, he remembers himself in his youth. Such were both he and his comrades. Uncertain, powerless, but with a spark that is able to change everything. But her courage is not lacking. Despite the difficulties, she is ready to go on. The coat recalls how in their youth they and their comrades went forward, full of faith. He notes, even rejected, she did not stop and searched for the way. Stubborn, determined. Now she inspires as they once inspired themselves. The girl hears, once she will become a great adventurer. These words penetrate deeply. One of the allies turns that the collapse should have been taken out before the tragedy, but support for the girl is stronger. In the tavern, adventurers think, suddenly the girl will also become broken as they are, but they sincerely want her spirit to remain free and not interconnected in the scars of the past. The atmosphere is tense but full of reflection. Everyone sees their mistakes. Suddenly the girl confidently states, she will not escape. It shocks the group. The coat smiles. He predicted it. He admires her determination again. She hesitates, but the question has already been raised. If it is not for battle, why is complete ammunition? Her heart shuddered. But the truth is obvious. One of the allies also confirms. He remains to fight. Inspired, one more exclaims, "If not, who will save everyone?" Others pick up. "It is necessary to protect the relatives, the city, everything that is expensive." During a short vacation, adventurers share memories. The hour shares the dream of helping the next generation, as they once helped him. He wants to be the foundation where others will be able to reduce something more. Silence is all thoughtful. The group decides to formally consolidate its union by creating a guild. The name is the plan of the future. They swear, if they cannot protect the city, not worthy of the titles of adventurers of rank S. Before leaving, the girl says goodbye to the coat. She asks him to survive. With determination in the look, she is moving, and the allies are preparing for a decisive battle. At this point, a dark, armed figure with burning eyes is awakened in the cave. The enemy is ready to act. The battle for the city began. Adventurers attack the monster. The collapse controls shooters from a favorable position. Meanwhile, the girl organizes evacuation, calms people, and leads to the cathedral. But one monster breaks through the protection and rushes to civilians. The girl acts instantly. She throws a purse towards the creature, hoping to stop it. The purse explodes a bright flash of light, a light bomb. The monster stops only for a moment. The girl understands. There is little time, and the threat is yet to come. She must act instantly. The light bomb made it possible to escape civilian, so the girl orders to flee while there is a chance. Meanwhile, adventurers coordinate protection. The 5th Street is cleared, and reinforcements are needed to the east. Battle for the city in full swing. The coat leads the archers, ordering to shoot continuously, holding back the onset of monsters. The girl is focusing and preparing to act, following the leadership of the collage. In the sky, she notices a terrifying, apocryphal creature that is approaching the city. The heart fades. In despair, she screams Holland, warning of a new threat. The monster collapses into the center of the group, causing an explosive wave. He rejects adventurers with a blow. The creature is surprised ominously for its purposes. One fighter is attacking, but her feathers are as strong as steel. He rejects him again. He realizes that this battle will be much more complicated. The Dutch, even captured, does not release the bow and continues to fight. In his look, he is a promise not to give up. He stands to the end. He is rejected on the roof, but the girl saves him at the last moment. After a short gratitude, he notices a new danger and calls for Crawford to prepare. The battle is not complete. The Dutch and Code again agreed with the creature face to face. The voltage reaches the limit. The monster looks at them. Every movement is for the weight of life. Dutch is waiting for the moment. Finally, he signals the attack. The magicians trigger the spell at the same time. The magical circle was beasting. It erupts, but still restrained. The maintenance plan is working, and the Holland warns to celebrate early. He orders the archers to fire the beast continuously until he is sedentary. Hundreds of arrows fly into the wings, standard tactics against flying creatures. The Colon calls for not to stop for a moment, to shoot until the last. The Holland goes to the attack, aiming at a weak place, contrary to steel feathers. He knows that it can even be punched with it. His arrow is the last chance. The Coat is carefully watching and notices something strange in the creature. The memory flashes. These instrumental creatures are actually dragons, and for everything is a little more dangerous. She shouts. The beast is preparing for a fire stroke. The fire is already gathering in the monster's mouth. The flame breaks out, sweeping everything in the way. Holland is just in front of him. He does not have time. The collage screams, seeing the danger. But she notices a weak place and sounds Holland to attack. Despite the flames, they rush together. In his thoughts, he scolds the Coat for her risk, but does not stop. Her advice still live in it. She is aware that the main thing in battle is to use the right one. Movement. And the liquid flies to the flame. The combustible substance hit. The Dutch breaks forward, preparing an accurate blow at the right moment. The Coat remembers that every resource is important in the team, even the simplest. It acts confidently. Dutch picks up. Two work as one. The flame of the dragon with a frantic whirlwind covers everything. The Colon stands in the middle of the fire without losing the focus. Thoughts hold her mind firm. Even in hell you cannot give up. The body burns, but it does not break. An old dream flashes in the heart. To survive the adventures that she just read before. She is ready to go through the flames to make it. Despite fear, this moment is her chance to become who she always wanted to be. And here she is, a heroic moment in the fire where her fate is decided. The dream becomes her strength. She points to Holland, a weak place of the monster. Dutch, burned but solid, prepares a decisive shot right. Using the King of the Wind, the arrow punches the fire and sets it out. The impact force pierces the beast. Exhausted, Dutch screams among the debris, looking for a coat. Seeing a light movement, he smiles with relief. She is alive. The Holland calls a healer and asks the courage not to move, promising help. He sighs with relief and confesses that there would be no victory without her. He praises her for his courage, and she, though exhausted, smiles happily. Dutch assures that she saved not only the group but the whole city. A medal awaits her. But suddenly he draws his eyes. The sky turns black with swarms of winged monsters. The threat returned. In the group, panic. They barely coped with one. And now, Holland takes the initiative. An immediate evacuation to the cathedral. Save at least civilians. The group decides to restrain the enemy to win time. One of them exclaims, "Now it is a threat to the whole country." Holland is hesitant. The collage is weak, but she asks him to go. The choice is difficult. It breaks on running, screaming with pain. The heart breaks, but the mission is more important. Others distract creatures by sacrificing everyone. Some protect the residents, some attacks. Despite despair, no one runs away. The Holland moves forward, and suddenly an alarming cry is heard. Something is wrong. The sky explodes giant flames. The explosion shocks everyone. A new enemy emerges from the smoke. Stronger, more frightening. Holland runs, realizing that he does not have time. Pauline screams with despair. The monster overshadows the sky. The memory of a wounded friend makes the heart shrink. Everything is getting worse. The monsters are massively drained on the city. The Dutch is dying. This is already a battle for survival. Everyone gets away from shock. A new threat is rapidly approaching from the sky. She is in the cloak, mysterious and powerful. With a lightning movement, an armed soldier jumps deep into the crowd of winged monsters, ready for battle. The monsters fall into the city, bringing even more chaos. On the horizon, a powerful explosion, indicating the scale of the battle. The wounded warrior remembers Jira, in his thoughts the past. In the sky, the mysterious figure laughs ominously, watching. It hangs in the air, confidently stating that it appeared on time, but warns, complete eclipse is close. This is only the beginning of something much more scary. The magician creates in the sky a star map. A giant charming circle announces the activation of his most powerful technique. He calls the meteor's spell. From the sky falls of deaths aimed at winged creatures. Meteors comb the sky, forming dazzling traces. The stroke of the star level is striking. One blow can change everything. A familiar figure appears in the thicket of chaos. The holiday returned. Cheerful, though she was late, she gladly welcomes the audience. However, there is no time to explain. The situation is tense, and it immediately moves to the rear, preparing for action. It is informed of the destruction and loss caused by the attack of a flying monster. Despite the strategic plans, it decides to act on its own. People recognize her and run for help. She confidently agrees. It's time to save. One of the warriors looks into the sky. Something extraordinary unfolds there. The woman notices. The spell acts on animals. It is preparing to use a chance. The girl knees before the staff, feeling the burden of the situation. The head is the thoughts of the wounded. It is prepared for magical action. Its healing spell is powerful. Wounds disappear instantly. There are miracles that are stunned. Those who are on the verge of death are recovering. The girl rushes into the arms of the mother with tears of joy. Everyone is covered by tears and relief. The joy of healing pervades the crowd. Dutch looks with surprise and gratitude. The girl also notices her wounds disappeared, and at the same time, they and Holland see a figure that slowly steps the roof, as if nothing had happened. The stranger turns with a smile and says he just got lost. He thinks of how difficult this battle was. No rest. All this time he patrolled the streets, destroying the monsters one by one. The Dutch, exhausted, lifts his eyes into the sky and sighs. Everything was incredibly exhausting. 3 days of continuous struggle against monsters. Everyone is fated but not broken. After the next battle, the young archer finally exhales, tired but satisfied with how far they have reached. The main character breaks into the room, loudly shouting the name of someone dear, frightening everyone around. One of the attendees is uncertain. The woman looks carefully in his face. She seems to have seen him before. But suddenly another man appears, and all the attention goes to him. The guy collapses in himself, thinking about the future. He clearly does not know what to do. The girl nearby tries to understand what is happening. She remembers. He said that he was on their side. Meanwhile, another silently watches. The girl explains. When the beast attacked, the whole city was evacuated to the cathedral. They also rescued those who did not have time to escape. The guy is silent, immersed in thoughts. The girl continues. If they were not, they would all be dead. She remembers apocryphal animals and asks if their leader found. He replies that he did not see anything like this. She suspects that the leader will appear. It's assumption. The cathedral is a real goal. They go there. The trap, a little more stunned, follows with them. One of the young men asks what to do next. The guy stands like a frozen, doubtful. He tries to say something, but in the end he is only silent, completely disoriented. Another man addresses direction. Maybe they need help? Finally, the guy assigns the task to the group. They willingly agree while he moves forward. Against the backdrop of the starry sky, they contemplate the city that recovers after the battle. The girl points to the majestic building in the distance. This is the cathedral. The guy looks hard, trying to recognize the place. His look changes sharply. He is aware of something, and the girl is watching him in surprise. She cannot understand what he saw. Unexpectedly, the guy grabs the ally by the hand and prepares to go. The girl is trying to stop, but the decision is already made. She extends him spare glasses, which she has stored for a long time. Warns they may be slightly damaged after the battle. The guy takes silently, clearly surprised. He opens the case, examines the glasses carefully. One leg is broken. The guy begins to repair. The girl fades, does not understand what he conceived, and suddenly he throws his glasses into the sky. Under the stars, he catches them with a crazy smile, shouting something joyful. His eyes shine from frenzy. The girl is watching from afar, puzzled. She kept these glasses for so long, and he, as if he had lost his mind. But the guy puts them and begins to show them enthusiastically. The sky, the stones, even the dog. As if for the first time, he sees the world. The girl nods silently, not knowing how to react. He is delighted. Thanks to his glasses, he sees everything. The guy confidently corrects the glasses. Now he will be more attentive. Then he removes his cloak and throws it on the girl. He noticed she was frozen. She is surprised, but thanks sincerely. And he just smiles warmth. It is first manifested in care and tenderness. It is not excited to run to the other side, going to the cathedral. But the girl quickly points the right direction. Even with glasses, it is completely disoriented. On the stairs of the cathedral, they are met by a woman with a staff. Seeing who is approaching, she responds in surprise. Seeing Churza, the woman notes that his face has changed. He jokes that it is thanks to glasses. The girl smiles. He says he is fit. The guy shines with joy, accepting a compliment. A staff woman reports that she has good news for them. It turns out that she and Eunice spent all her manu sealing the threat and invested in Ario's spell. The Mountains with Irony asks how it can be considered good. The woman only smiles carelessly, leaving everyone in high tension. The guy remotely watches the figure rising from the ruins in black smoke. Putting his hand on the sword's hand, he hears that he should meet him himself. The girl looks at the figure with a sword that is confidently approaching. She asks whether it is an enemy that Jir mentioned. He confirms it is a leader of animals. Seeing his weapon, the Mountains recognize the apocryphal magic artifact. The enemy is deadly. The girl specifies whether the force comes from these weapons. Jir replies, this is one of the 13 legendary. This weapon was used by the most fallen king. From the moment the enemy touched her, his mind has been covered by the hatred of the king. His heart is distorted. Jir tries to reach. The resurrection of the fall is a futile business. The abyss has already been sealed, the saint and Archimag, and even the destruction of the cathedral will not change anything. But the words seem to have no more power. The enemy's mind is already lost. He falls to the ground, whispers something barely audible. He asks everyone to flee, because it is impossible to win Venish. The woman and the girl are shocked. Jir comments in amazement. He is even when he feels. This is the level of S-class. The half-dead enemy says that no person will overcome this magical sword. But a new warrior with 2 swords appears on stage. He declares, that is why he was called. Jir looks the enemy in the eye, saying that he knew the truth. Despite the hopelessness, he squeezed the remnants of consciousness to stop the resurrection. To the last he resisted the sword control. The Mountains come to a meeting of the enemy. He remembers that he was sent to the maze for the seal of evil, but a distorted opponent assures it is impossible even for him. In his last wave of consciousness, the creature asks everyone to flee. It is no longer saved, but the young warrior stands firmly. Despite inexperience, he is ready to accept the challenge and looks in the eyes of horror. The Mountains compresses the sword firmly. He will prove that the path of the enemy was not in vain. He is more reborn before the threat. The sword of the Mountains returned.